I like to look at my instrument as well.
Yes.
I'm sure they can see it and hear it, but it's a good sound.
It's a little tickle.
Yeah, you can turn on your amp, and then you can turn on the computer.
You're getting high virtue, exactly.
Yeah.
Hello. Beautiful, delicious people of all around the world with ears to listen to my stupid voice talk about nonsense. Welcome to another edition of the Free Bant Express podcast with me, Dan and Pete. Today I have... You can turn it down a bit there, bro. No. Like, keep it there, but just like turn the volume down. Let Jimmy keep playing.
Jimmy has to play, man.
Jimmy gotta sing. Jimmy Morrison gotta sing, man.
Fuck yeah. Now we got this.
And today joined with me is Michael McCormack, or Micko.
Hello, everybody.
He is a mate of mine from my course in grounds design in Ballyfermot, and he used to be a self-employed contractor for carpentry and stuff like that, had his own business and shit. But unfortunately, like the economic nonsense that is the inevitability of idiot people completely disconnected from the population, dealing with intangible numbers and ones and zeros that don't represent the cash that they're using, obviously turns out to completely collapse, as it would, because it's based on nothing.
Ironically, people who have no idea how to do my job were the reasons I lost my job.
Isn't it the way, like?
It was.
It's the same with with people who like write a TV show, and then this guy who has no idea about story goes, no, you can't have that, put this in and make this 10 times more flashy. People don't like this. Why aren't they this instead of that? Because it'll change the entire story altogether. Well, change the entire story then. I know, I'm an executive, and they don't know shit.
This is the guys at top. It really is. It's the guys at top. Literally, no view of what it is to be at the bottom of the pile.
No.
How could they possibly? They were born into this top pile. They have no idea what the world is like below. But it's not a bad one we're in. Let's be fair.
No, but essentially, logically, right, when you think about it in that kind of situation, it's like, okay, so you have no experience driving a car. You haven't even played a game or a sim where you drive a car. You don't know about mechanics. You're not even really good cognitively, and you haven't done anything to test or show you've got cognitive skills.
And you're dictating how it should be built.
But yeah, what you're doing is we're going to employ you as our lead designer and head manager of production in fucking Audi. Like,
frustrating.
That's if you did that, you would be told who hired this person. Right, you're fired. I'm sorry, you're fired. It's unfortunate you got hired in the first place. You shouldn't have been. We'll give you compensation, whatever. But this dude who hired you is a fucking knob.
We're trying to find them right now.
Right.
We literally.
But here's the fucked up thing.
No one to blame. And these fuckers are running around.
But here's the fucked up thing,
right?
It's essentially, because of how it's run, we're the fucking people who hired them. But it's not a system where you have a job where it's like only the person who can do the job right does it. The system is so closed that you're only given the right to choose between a douche and a turd, a la South Park.
And you have to hold down a job, and you don't get a pick of what job you get while doing it. Look, it can be frustrating if you are following the rules as is. They've been told to you, this is what you must do to make a good life, raise a good family, get married,
and you go, okay, I'm going to do it.
And they dictate it, and you can live by it to a certain degree. But when it's shown over and over and over again, these guys clearly cannot do their fucking jobs. I mean, do we not realise the fact that what is your measure of qualification for doing your job? I've always had this frustration with politicians who are over certain, like say the Minister of Health. It's kind of half looking he's a doctor, but at the same time, a doctor is not a governor of a health system. He is someone who takes care of your health. Like, he looks for signs of your illness. He's not a qualified accountant of medicine. Do you understand what I mean?
I understand
look at the guys in our top drawers of political levels in Ireland,
dude,
and think
the fact that it's a doctor
that have no idea what they're doing. Like, you
have this idea. Oh well, the Minister of Health Finance, he is a doctor, so he'd know all about medicine. Really? Because how come when you go with a problem and someone goes, oh, I don't know that, you're gonna have to reserve you to this specialist. I'm gonna refer you to this guy because I don't know that.
No, exactly.
And we have a person
fix the broken leg of an economy as opposed to like a bump on the fucking head. No, he can't. Well, is it shown? Maybe. There's not people dying on mass scale. So what? We can call ourselves lucky for not being in that situation.
There's a huge difference.
But we cannot say that we're a first world country. Of course we are. When fuck me, the people are really fucking sick. I heard on the radio this morning. I was listening on the way to college. This what was it? Our Lady's Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
Crumlin.
I'm a patron of that.
So was my daughter. My daughter was scalded. Her fucking arms. Like, look, it was bad, but we had to go to Crumlin for it. And I know of the hospital right now.
Crumlin had this great
do you know
thing
the latest
that they did.
charge that's come on the radio, and I've only heard about this today, is that
It's been knocked down, isn't it?
No. Most of the managers of Crumlin have, at least of most of the hospitals too, have wrote to Minister Riley and said to him, "You're putting children at risk of cancer." Now, look, whatever you call the OAPs, you know what I mean, the medical card for over 70s, and considering most of them have an illness. Fuck you if you're that stupid to think that way. But children's hospital, man, you know, it doesn't. How do you transcend from, you know, letting down our elderly who built the country in the first place to going to our fucking children, you prick? And it's basically, look, we don't have the money to test for cancer in kids.
Yeah.
We're just fucking
Which
broke.
is ridiculous, because it's not like these things are vast technologies that this certain race
They've
is
been
only
discovered a good
found
10, 25
fucking
years ago, and they're proven to be.
Bang on.
That must be really.
Dude, there are doctors' offices in America where they have a dog which can sniff prostate cancer from an asshole.
Even you looked at that as
That's
like,
not a lie.
Even if you looked at that as a potential way, like that kid in the UK, remember he developed like it's this tiny little string, and it tests for breast cancer, and it's 99% right, and it tells you in about 5 to 6 seconds. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ, 6 seconds, man.
It's essentially a pregnancy test you just piss on. It's something as quick as that.
All the parameters of like the speed and accuracy of a pregnancy test. For a cancer test, whatever about pregnancy. Ooh, you're having a baby. You have cancer. Go get it sorted out. Not this 6-month waiting list and a 70%. You might get it right. You might have to go for a second test. We're not too sure what we're looking at here. No. We have a string that can tell you in 6 seconds, guaranteed. Now, has that even been mentioned in, say, like, new innovation? Like, you know what I mean? Stopping half the brains that are leaving the country in medicine, going off to other countries and developing these science, these medicines. And then we're saying to ourselves, oh, we can't afford them here. Fuck off. We sent them out the country 10 years ago. Yeah. That's what they're doing right now, is developing this shit for other countries.
And why wouldn't you join the bandwagon if you're one of those people? You have a way to really help people, but you're being ripped of money to help people. We're going to give you a job where you have all the facilities and amenities to do exactly what you want to do, to help people. And here's the thing. When it comes to certain scientists looking, or biologists or whatever, looking for certain things, something like a cure for cancer, it can't be weaponized because it's a cure for cancer, which is something you don't weaponize anyway because it's cancer. And it's not like, oh, but what are they really doing? They're looking for a cure for cancer. It's just like, probably one of the most noble fucking, if there is something that can be left to pure nobility today, it's finding a cure for something like that.
Yes.
You know,
but how many of the people who discover these cures are ever like given hero status in society? Not anymore. I only mean like 50 years ago we put Einstein on a pedestal and called him the greatest things in sliced bread, and rightly fucking so. Of course, the guy forwarded science.
Dude, why would you bother giving credit to a person who invented the cure or is inventing cures for disease which will cripple the living body, you know? When you can, you know, watch a program about a bitch you've never heard of complain about how she has so much money on
reality TV.
Obviously, that's the better choice, you know?
Here's a question.
Apparently.
Here's a question for you, though.
You know, a guy who can, like...
Do we have some kind of willingness to kind of... I don't know, I mean, you hear Bill Maher talk about it the odd time. No, a lot. It's his main fucking topic. Russell Brand, man, has been causing ripples because he's speaking about this, and he's essentially saying, are we just so complacent to roll over with this shit? You know what I mean? To what point do you say to yourself, look, is this going to be the case from here for the next 20 years? Say 30 fucking years. Are we willing to roll over?
For some reason, man, the majority are conditioned to feel that you can't change it. And if you're someone with an idea that goes against it, you're a crazy person.
Yes.
And you should, dude, stop complaining, stop moaning, man, fuck's sake.
He's paranoid, he's a conspiracy theorist,
not even that, just like, dude, be fucking grateful, blah, blah, dude, be this, it's like, not questioning something is the stupidest thing a human being can do, considering a human being got to this stage by doing what? Questioning.
Yes.
As in, Why do I have to run from a lion all the time? This is terrifying. Why don't I just go to a place? Where can a lion not go? Oh, so it turns out if you go into this cave and you put a rock in front of it, lions can't move rocks. They don't have opposable thumbs. They just they look at a rock and they go, it's a boulder, I can't move, and they walk away. So we could live in that cave and we can just, you know, a few of us can move this rock and we're fucking sorted. Guess how that wouldn't have come about if I didn't question shit. You know?
As in, why can we better our own circumstance? You know, how do we...
I'll tell you one thing, right? You know the inventor, the guy who invented Morse code, okay? He was doing work with, I think it was like mathematics or something. It was something...
obviously, yeah.
It was, but no, sorry, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. He was a fucking painter and a poet. He was not a mathematician in any way,
I was
right?
convinced he was. Go on, yeah.
He was not a mathematician. His wife got sick, okay? And he got a letter saying when he was away that his wife was sick. And he, as soon as he got it, he left to go to see her.
Right.
And this is at a time where a letter was a person on a fucking horse.
Yeah, of course.
You know, to get to your gaff.
It was Morse code.
Miles away, you know, because Morse code didn't exist.
Yeah.
And
This is a William Tell job. Every time you had to get bad news, it was from 400 miles away. You were told 2 weeks later what fucking... Your granny could have died by now.
He has to, when he gets back, the night before he arrived, his wife passed away.
Oh.
And he was completely overcome with this, what do you say when people have their fixated?
Yeah.
He was fixated on this thing of how there must be a quicker way for us to receive information.
He was driven to...
Absolutely driven, but not just driven, he was plagued.
Man, so
he was plagued by it.
Yeah.
To the point where he ended up being on a boat, okay? He fucked off and basically just did his own shit, right?
Yeah.
He was on a boat, and he ended up talking to this dude, right? This is, I think, maybe 10 to 20 years later. He ends up talking to this dude who was a pioneer at the moment in another country that they met in this boat, and he was studying electromagnetism. And he was one of the first people kind of practically actually in doing this, right?
Yeah.
And he found about electromagnetic fields, and that how data and like not information, but like electrical pulses and stuff can be sent from one magnetic field to another, right?
Yeah.
Across magnetic field, things can travel, right? So if he was like, this intrigued him hugely, and he was like, if you can get information into that stream,
An instruction.
Instruction, can you, and that can travel across anything? Can that be a new way of passing messages? And then he found out that sound can be used across electromagnetic frequency.
If he was a painter and a poet, he probably established the fact that you could send patterns over long distances, and other painters and whatever he thought was the main could understand these patterns. And
I'd actually like to find out.
One painter looked at a painting and said, "I understand that painting," and they could be 2,000 miles away.
I'd like to understand or find out if the Fibonacci sequence was found out before him or after him.
Oh fuck!
Before. Before, yeah.
Yeah, man. You're talking
then it would
about
stand to reason.
Late. What would it have been like? Pre-World War One.
Yeah, that's
Jesus
true.
Christ, man.
Oh yeah, but
years.
anyway, so long story short, right? He ends up finding the right people and getting the right situation where he finds out that you can have sound travel across electromagnetic frequency.
Send patterns that can be read and understood.
And it's unbelievably quick. And you don't have to have necessarily wires running from one thing to another, because like when the ship uses a thing, it doesn't have a wire running from the ship to land, you know, they're just
simple deduction would have drawn that, like you just could never build enough lines.
So as a result,
but
because
you could send a signal,
he knew, he was like, if I'd had more for the future people, because of this now, if we make a sound represents a certain letter and a stop is a dash or whatever, you know, then we can extrapolate letters which make words.
Man.
So that way, for the future, if someone else like me is away, or their child, or their mother, or their father is sick, they will know the second they've gotten ill, and they will be able to leave as quickly as possible, and have a much better chance of being there before the person died.
Man, I wonder, imagine being him, discovering this, like, you know, trying to reset yourself back to a mindset of, right, zero communication in the world at the moment, unless by hardwire, right, and at best that's tricky. Okay, and you're imagine what you would discover doing that if you were to discover that you could bounce signals back and forth that could send patterns in the form like data in the form of patterns. Someone at the other end could find it. You would have discovered think of the curvature of the Earth. You would have discovered it because before that, no signal has ever passed through the Earth. Mm-hmm. It had to be in a wire going around. So, right, the USA, it may have been connected to, like say during World War II, there would have been a hardwired connections between America and the US, or US and UK. But that was based on the fact that it went all the way around. But imagine it, you would have been sending a signal for the first time. You would have realized it can only go a certain distance, and it would shoot straight out into space. It defied laws of all. There was no understanding of the laws of electromagnetism and the Earth. That the fact that signals could just go boom, straight out into space and never get contort in any way possible. And that was strange because they're thinking to yourself, the thinking at the time would have been it just would have went around the world because it would have conformed to the usual laws of physics. But it didn't. That must have been fucked up.
Well, but the thing is, it does come to the usual law of physics because one of the main laws and governing laws in physics is electromagnetism. Mm.
But in the 1940s, it was only being matured.
Yeah.
It was only being matured. I mean, we got over Newtonian physics especially with Alex Turing.
A friend of mine turned around to me recently and he was like, "What do you think the most strongest force in the universe is?" And I was like, "Okay, offhand, I'm going to say probably gravity, but I have a feeling that that's not the answer." Mm. And he was like, "Yes, you're right. That's not the answer." I was like, "Okay, but most people say gravity, like you said." And I was like, "Okay, what?" And he was like, "Well, think about it. A magnet for your fridge, that's all it takes to stop gravity. Yeah. A simple shitty magnet from your fridge is more powerful than gravity."
Yep. So bearing its own weight.
It's an unbelievably strong force. And when we use something that is diluted down to being a part of that initial force and what it brings and how it travels through it, essentially it breaks the laws of physics in regards to what we think of solid objects and our ability to touch tangible things and to see tangible things. Mm. But when something is a part of one of its basic forms, it's prevalent to just echo through everything else.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like light. Light is so fucking basic that a star from billions of miles away will come here, we'll see it, it's light, that's what it is at its basic level, you know?
Yeah. And it's visible.
But what's fucking messed up and cool about Morse, right, is it was him, and because of him, right, there was books. But what the internet is now is the electronical communication of information at its fastest rate possible.
At its basic level,
it's Morse code.
Of data.
And at its basic level, it's Morse code.
Isn't it crazy?
He didn't even realise at the time that what he was doing was setting the pathway so that a few years later, Alexander Graham Bell would make the telephone. And that a few years later from that, terrible company, DARPA, will invent the first proper internet. And then Al Gore will be the first person to have the internet in his own house. As in, he made his own kind of thing.
Alex Turing's inventions, it was a...
Yeah, and...
you could say it was CERN, though, that really had the first internet.
No, if you research it, DARPA.
DARPA had it. I thought it was CERN in Switzerland.
DARPA created the first networking systems of computers to relay information across...
But were they controlled by... Were they human-controlled computers, or were they automated programs that communicated between each other? Because I know DARPA did autonomous programs that communicated data back and forth. So a calculation from one computer would be sent to another computer.
The CERN thing grew from what DARPA started.
CERN was a work issue. CERN, the guy who invented... Well, at least the story goes, or what I know of it is CERN...
I want to research that properly, because I do know that at the beginning... Originally, there was a whole thing of, Al Gore was the first guy who invented the internet. But well, there is truth to it. There was something to do with, he was the first, dude who bothered his arse to actually get something running that a normal consumer in a house could have.
Yeah.
Right? But it was, I heard about the Switzerland thing as well, but it was...
The CERN one,
the initial, I think maybe CERN had the initial idea.
Yeah.
And then DARPA built the actual working model.
I think because CERN was genuinely kind of accidental. It genuinely was. It was simply it was an
get your phone out there and Google that there. Type in
internet invention.
Internet. Who invented the internet?
Yeah.
I think it's DARPA.
Because it's daddy. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but who would have thought, if you'd have turned around to Morse, right, and be like, oh, by the way, because of you, at some point, there is going to be this box you have in your hand. It's going to have glass on this box. you will be able to watch people fucking, and at any point at all, you can ask it any fucking question
And it'll tell you
on
whatever
the
you want.
planet,
Yeah.
and it will give you the answer instantaneously.
I know,
Even
it's
that
crazy.
man, who might have been seen to be crazy when he first thought of the idea of using electromagnets to send information, he would look at you and go, fuck right up, get out of my house.
Yeah.
Please leave my house, I don't want your nonsense.
Dan, it's a thing of beauty. It's
Isn't
a
it?
thing of beauty to be able to pull out that phone and be able to access that amount of information. It's fantastic, but doesn't it give you, and it surely gives you a broader outlook. Surely, at its most basic
I tell you
level,
one thing that I'm
that's
going
what
to
it
do
does.
when I get a bit more money is I'm going to do the final clinch, which makes all that stuff still shit, because all of that stuff that is cool about these phones is still based off people who were raped of their land and children who are forced into living in fucking no conditions. Because essentially, I don't know how it happens with everywhere, but here's one of the things with the pygmy population, okay? The pygmy population, they had their land, right? And where their land is, there's a lot of these conflict minerals like coltan and stuff, which are used for your iPhone, your laptop monitors.
Oh, serious?
And your
Actual
chips.
materials from the iPhone?
Oh, they're like,
Cool.
for all of these things. See, what happens is Foxconn is a company in China. I think it's China.
It is made in
it
China.
is,
no?
yeah.
Yeah.
They're the company that, for those of you who don't know, they make all the shit for Sony, Microsoft, PlayStation, the lot, right? They all use Foxconn shit. And Foxconn gets their stuff from
Silicon
these
production house.
these situations. And these situations are that, like the pygmies, they had their land, okay? And they had these, near their place where these mines, where these minerals were.
Yeah.
And what happens is, these learned people come over, the learned white man, and he goes, oh, hello there. And they're like, oh, hello. And he's like, listen, so we are actually, really good with certain things, okay? And it turns out that these little rocks and stuff that's near your gaff that are really good for the stuff that we need, right?
Yeah.
But
See
what
what's
we're
coming.
so what we're going to do is we're going to add a bit more stuff to your life. We're going to show you soap and all this shit, right? And because we know how to do this, but we don't know how to farm. So you're going to farm shit and shit like that, and that'll be grand. And then we're going to work at your mine, and it'll be a symbiote relationship,
Yeah.
And they're like, cool. So that starts, and then at some point they go up and go, right. By the way, I meant to tell you, you're asking there about when you're going to get paid or when are you going to see something like, yeah, I meant to tell you. You had no idea about land and the fact that land can be owned now. So logically and realistically speaking, by the law, we bought the land you own. So we own the land now, and what we've done is we're going to go home, and we've left you in the perfectly capable hands of General Bloodthirsty. And General Bloodthirsty will basically force you with all his men to work like dogs for God knows how long.
Is there nobody following them?
Oh, listen.
Surely there's
Dude,
someone fucking chasing after them.
You might get a bar of soap after 2 weeks for your entire tribe. And you'll be grateful, because otherwise they'll kill you. And see you later. Bye-bye.
Again.
Here's the thing, right? What makes it worse is at no point, when people say, how can people let this go on? Because Foxconn will always buy that stuff.
Yeah.
Because Microsoft and all of them will always buy the stuff from Foxconn. Because nobody else makes that shit.
Or can make that.
Or can make that shit. Because, but
you
know how they can...
Government,
do you know how Foxconn can make what they make the way they make it? Because they have a company where majority of the workers at one point, this was last year, I think, or at the beginning of this year, tried to commit suicide by jumping off the building. And I don't mean 2 or 3, I mean hundreds of fucking people, because of how they're being treated.
Yeah.
And this is in a country where most jobs treat you like fucking autonomous dogs anyway, and they were even, it was too far. You heard all this bullshit reports from companies going, I didn't hear about this. This is gonna. We did not know Foxconn was involved in this, and
till
this
it becomes famous. Till it hits the.
We'll take a stand, and this is not. At no point was there actually, even though there was all this stuff said, at no point in the data did it show that these companies threatened to pull out whatsoever. Not once. And you know what the solution that the company did to stop them killing themselves? They put a net to catch the people. And if you try to jump off and we're caught in the net, you get fired.
Is it from some of the pictures I've seen lately, man? It's just from cops, a row of 40 cops, 30, 40 cops, and they're just cracking off rounds of tear gas and whatnot into crowds. And it's all over a protest for better wages. Like, you fucking hell. Imagine we doing that here, having to actually go to the streets and have firefights with the cops. Over jobs. You know what I mean? It's... Again, but, it's another question of what we're willing to sit by and look, that's bad, but sure, what we're going to do.
Well, there's not one. Here's the thing, like, you know, they say one man can change the world. No, he can't.
This is it. Look,
one right idea. If it's a good idea, and if it's explained right, and it's not being explained by a person in a way to elevate that person, they're simply just being another voice or another way of interpreting that information. And as long as the same information doesn't get Chinese whispered, it doesn't get convoluted or anything like that. And if it's a good message, if it's a good idea, people will attach themselves to it. And it's happened again and again over years. Why do you think it's not the same anymore to just go into a rival neighbourhood and walk into his gaff, kill the dude and rape his wife? You know, you can't do that anymore because it was a general idea that was brought out so basically and so strange, like normally that wasn't convoluted to a vast amount of people. They went, yeah, so we're going to make it illegal for you to just go and rape people. And we're going to make it so it's illegal to just go into a gaff and fucking kill someone because you wanted their home. We're going to make that legal because that's bollocks, you know?
The ironic thing, man, is we're able to gather so much information about these cultures, about these, you know what I mean, that we're seeing this shit, and they're accepted of it. And we're going, what the fuck are you doing? Like, and it's ironic, it's an invention of a horrible situation in which it comes from iPhones. Like any smartphones for that matter. Like you say, it's the entire spectrum that get their technology from Foxconn. Yes, there you go. So, and it comes from somewhere. Like, fuck me, it must be a really bad situation. It has to be a really bad situation.
Oh, dude, it's all, you know Blood Diamond, right? Have you ever seen the movie Blood Diamond?
Look at the irony.
It's not a joke.
It's the irony. Like, it's the irony of it. It's like, right, say with Blood Diamonds, right, and how bad they were. Yet the West kept buying them, but
do you know why?
They in them of themselves never taught the owner what it was. Yeah, when you got a big diamond, it was just a pretty diamond. That was all it would ever be, and you could show it off to all your friends.
It was only
through the slow trickle of information that came to us slowly in different portals of media. So you had blood diamonds with Leonardo DiCaprio, and at no point in the movie do they make any beef about the fact that these are blood diamonds. These are really, fucking hell. You see where they come from, and yet they sell, like, they're really expensive. But yeah, like I said, a diamond can't teach you about itself. I say it's ironic that we've come along, like a production of the same situations has come along and taught us about itself, about blood diamonds.
Oh yeah,
about the entire spectrum of political corruption beyond the fucking wazoo.
The device you bought can explain to you why.
It's the irony of it.
It's evil.
Yeah. There is a bitter irony to them because newspapers in and of themselves are ones who are really bitter to this fact that people now have 9 more portals of information than they did fucking 5 years ago. 5 years ago,
it's destroying the news.
2 or 3, right?
It's destroying the news.
Yeah, or what we think is news. What we think is news. What we think should make the headlines. I mean, I see things on RTE, and I do say to myself, what? No, come on. I mean, what the fuck are you writing about that? Like,
I happen to know for a fact that this is happening.
When a religious one comes on and it's some waffle about what some bishop says about some stupid, like he's getting political, and you want to slap him, so you do, because you're just melted by it.
Like, I'm sorry, stop for 1 second. We might be charged for our water.
And on the
in Ireland.
On the same day.
And you want to talk about something a bishop said about some irrelevant bullshit about a dude marrying another dude? I'm going to stab you.
There is 10
I'm going to stab you right now.
There are 10 more important stories that far outweigh what that douchebag in a cloth is saying.
It's sad.
But it's disturbing the fact that with your iPhone, you have found out these 10 stories. You know about these probably before you see the 6 o'clock news. So you will have a sort of armoury of bad shit that's going on in the fucking world in one way or another. And when you come to the 6 o'clock news and you see that waffle, and you go, oh, what? I just heard about drone strikes that have killed an entire fucking school. Sorry, but you just seem completely fucking irrelevant to what's going on in the world right now. And that's what I would like to know, what's going on in the world right now. I was in America for the Boston bombings.
Fuck!
Well, they went off. I was in Florida.
Dude!
Yeah, I know.
Don't start a sentence. Say you're in Florida.
35
like,
Irelands
you're in Boston
away.
during the bombings, bro.
Alright, no, about 40 Irelands away, okay? Which is, alright, look, if you ever travel
dude,
a
I'm not
distance...
dumb, I know how big America is.
Yeah, I'm not fucking hell. You went to Galway. That went off of Galway.
It took longer to get from New York to California than it did for me to get from Dublin to New York. I was like,
I know,
this logic is cunt.
Oh, God, stop the distance. But anyway, I was in Florida and the bombs went off. Man, I was, whoa, fucking hell, this is serious shit. Like, what the fuck is going down? And there was a big chase. And it ended up in, he was robbing a liquor store. Last time I checked, he was robbing a liquor store, and him and the brother, like the liquor store, cops it, had a big gunfight. They killed the older brother, and the little brother scampered.
What is this? Is this real life?
Yeah, Boston bombing.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Boston
Yes.
bombings. And,
Sorry, I thought you were saying something else.
it was
Yeah.
crazy.
Went off trail there.
Right?
My head,
He
sorry.
hid for like, I'd say, about 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And he was narrowed down to this house where there was this speedboat parked up all winter, right? And the blood trail led up to inside the boat. He was in the boat. So he was. And there was fucking SWAT. 2 miles of SWAT in every direction. This guy wasn't going
That's like
anywhere.
an episode of GTA.
Total fucking lockdown. Man, he wasn't budging. He was lying there. He was barely alive. And... well, in reality, we've seen a couple of TV clips of him being, hauled off in handcuffs and a few bits and backs to the courts. But what the fuck? Whatever happened to the guy? He's never spoken. He has never... nobody has ever... right, we have no real information. I've never seen a video of him talking. And this is what I can do when a celebrity comes along and I want to find out about them, or if someone comes along in the news, like a killer, and I want to see or what other stories there's going on with this guy, or say with the Philippines, the storm there. I have about 3 outlets of news that give me information on that at the moment. So I follow that, and I see, I try to keep up with the numbers and whatnot and all that. But oh my God, it's frustrating at times, man. It is frustrating at times to see these stories come up and you're like,
He's like, I'm going to stab you.
Okay, no, what's that douchebag that was caught doing his makeup on RTE? And someone told him he was lying. What? What? He's not a douchebag, he's a lovely guy. But it's the guy from RTE1 doing the news. Hello, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He's doing his makeup. You're lying. What?
You're lying.
It's fucking hilarious. Oh God, I laugh for a while at that.
Man, some of the shit that you ever watched, like, there's 1 or 2 bloopers of like this Italian news. The Italian one is the best, right? Because just the way their society is, they don't give a dick. There's this bird there, and she. By the way, the 2 dudes are like el mano. And man, like they're just dudes. They're like men, super hairy men, and like beautiful, massive jaws. Like, and the girl is like banging, absolutely banging. She's taste, and she's mature, but she's like a fine wine, and she's not like too far gone, and she's cracking tits. And as she's talking and getting elated, right, you can almost see her nip anyway. And as she keeps talking and does something, her tit just pops out, right?
Are you serious?
The best part is, as it's happening, you can tell the both dudes every once in a while have blatantly glanced and be like, that's gonna pop out, And then when it pops out, they sit like, they turn that bit more, just slightly, ever so slightly turn a bit more to it. And they're kind of just like blatantly going in there. You can see by their body language, even though they're all talking normally and they continue the conversation, it's like, yeah, take a look at that fantastic fucking tit.
It's car
look at that
TV,
shit,
isn't it?
I am not telling her shit. Because if you see any other show or any other blooper, right, that I have seen where that shit happened, like, that it'll happen immediately, and the person will go, oh my God, and someone will point it out and be really embarrassing. Those 2 dudes just fucking sat there. Nobody around the fucking,
exactly what it is
no one around the place said anything to her. They just kept talking until she noticed. She went, oh, and covered it up, and they were like, ah.
Have you
it
seen?
was fucking hilarious.
Have you
Hold
seen?
on, I want to get back to something I said there because I totally went off trail about the phones. There's a company from Norway or the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's Norway. And they have a thing called the Fairphone. And it's essentially the same, like, Android kind of stuff, like THCs. I wonder, THC, HTC, I wonder. The one guy called it, let's call it THC, you can't call it that. Fine, HTC. Okay. But yeah, it's a phone. It's like a normal fucking smartphone, but it's made with not conflict shit.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of a fair trade
Fair
thing.
trade stuff, yeah.
Fair trade, but it's not bullshit fair trade charity where it's not really charity at all. Like Oxfam, which is like the guy who owns Oxfam is a millionaire. How the fuck is that charity?
Yeah.
Fuck off, like.
And how, what, are they
Donate your
developing
jet,
it
you
locally or
cunt.
something?
What?
Are they developing it locally or?
No, at the moment they haven't. I wanted. I should have fucking researched this properly.
Should've
But
charged my phone.
oh, your phone's dead.
Ah, it died.
Balls. Okay, in a second, I'll run get the charger.
Good.
But yeah, essentially, it's one of those phones, but you don't get it mined from, you know, people who are totally being forced by hand. You know what I mean?
You're getting a good deal.
You're getting a guilt-free phone,
Yeah.
and to be honest, of all the different types of marketing, I prefer guilt-free.
Yeah, fucking hey, of course.
You
And
know,
it makes me sleep.
I
at
hate
night,
those
of course.
adverts that are like, if you don't buy this, you're a cunt. It's like, fuck you!
Why
you
aren't
know?
they making the phones for, or why aren't they?
Where it's
making
more in the
phones for-
sense of, hey, if you feel dirty, you don't have to buy it. There's another option. If you want to buy it and you want to pay a little bit more price, or I think it's essentially around the
But
same
what-
price. Like,
What's the story with them? Why aren't they developing for anyone big? Like, or are they just making their own brand?
oh, it's only new.
Oh, it's only new.
It's only
ah,
very. Oh
how
yeah,
is
no,
it?
it's like just recently read it there.
See.
But yeah, so I want to check out more into it because
I'd say that would be
if
big
it's not
next.
too
I'd say,
much
no,
of a-
I'd say that would genuinely be big next.
If it's not that
there's
big
any
of a
kind of
price
push
difference.
behind it, no, it could. Well, at least these guys, right? Whatever, how well worn the track of abused workers
Here's
we have.
something I
hang on.
Okay.
Abused workers in China making our phones. Like, of course, it's frustrating, but at the meantime, there is no. The latter is, well, not the latter, but like, you know, the alternative, I suppose, is, you know, the old Nokia phones. And we wouldn't be willing to go back to, who the fuck would ever trade in their iPhone for an old Nokia phone? But if there is an alternative, or someone making an alternative and exposing the conditions from which our iPhones are currently made from, then we could say, hang on, this is an issue we really need to fucking look at. How can we honestly say we can use these devices and not say, well, what, we were wearing Nikes 15 years ago giving out about this shit, and we stopped wearing Nikes, so we fucking did. Alright, it was the same Adidas. I mean, all of them got fucking panned for it, man, so they did. And they all had to back the fuck away and start making better trades. And some of them even didn't, and they get exposed on a monthly fucking basis, so they do. And good for it, but how long are we going to hold these things around and say, right, yeah, they're great, but fucking hell, they're made in terrible conditions. Let's pile a lot of weight on this and really get... It's not hard as trying to end a war.
No.
You know what I mean? It's fucking not like it really isn't.
But the
It's
problem is,
development
man,
of new
look,
technology.
the problem is,
the answer,
at
but
the
that'll
moment-
get ignored. Wait and you see.
Dude,
or at
the
least
problem,
for 10 years, we'll be like, well, will we go over to the better version
it's too
of it?
profitable for the people who are already in the position
Yes.
to war. It's
They
too
have
profitable.
they have the
It makes
biggest
it's
margin to
too
lose.
much money.
Yes.
Why would you stop that?
There is
and
a mode.
also, you have a huge problem with the way it works, and it always has worked. Anytime you see a stupid decision that affects everybody, that fucks things up for the future.
Look,
it's because the
do you
people.
remember text messaging?
Hold on a
remember
second.
text messaging?
Hold on a second. The people in that who make those decisions, at no point are they ever thinking of the next generation.
No.
They are only thinking of as long as they're alive.
Making as much as
And
they can
as long as-
while they're alive.
As long
This
as
is the
those
mode for
that is
all
the mentality
corporations. Yeah.
for pushing forward, as long as it's only that finite, we will never ever reach a place where these kind of common sense stuff, that when you get down to brass tacks, people are like, why the fuck do we live in a world that governs like that? We will never get past that until
The birth of the electric car will be an ugly
It changes,
thing for the
like.
next 50
But
years.
the
But we'll
only-
have to do it eventually.
the optimistic thing is that never, ever, ever before, and everyone who tries to predict, they do not account for how fucking important it is of
That
the
the
age
next-
of information that we are in.
Yeah, I know. 'cause
We are
know
getting
this shit.
so much information so fucking fast.
Yeah.
And it's grown so much that people who not necessarily have the best way of life might still be able to get their hands on a fucking
Yes,
smartphone.
of course they do.
You know,
They
and
do.
it's
Fucking
crazy.
hell, man.
When
It's
you
the
have so many people being bombarded with straightforward information, you're seeing it, because it's not a case of the one random person is talking about this. It's a normal type of conversation nowadays between the old people who say and repeat the same sentences are now, Jesus man, the people in the seats, they really don't have a fucking clue what they're doing. And it's not a boring...
They're not very apprehensive of the idea of this. Like
It's not a boring topic on Late Late Show anymore or something like that. It's now become a topical thing on mainstream shit, where even comedians and stuff are like, here, listen, comedians always joked about that, but on like national stuff when they're a comedian as a guest on a show and shit like that. Like on Graham Norton, one of the dudes, I can't remember his name. He's a big interviewer, Townsend or something. Fuck, I'm so bad with names. They were just talking about something, and he was like, he said something. They were talking about something else, and then he got into saying about decisions that people make. And he was like, look, the only fucking thing I have is about the controversial thing that I said there is, look, the fact of the matter is, if you've never actually had a fucking job, a 9 to 5, you've worked for the man and you've done your job and you know what it is to pay for your own bills in your own life. How the fuck are you qualified to tell other people and make other rules for other people to live their life by?
Yeah.
How the fuck are you qualified? It's ridiculous, and we have to stop allowing these people to get into jobs.
We don't have enough
or to get into that position. But
can we name?
It's a fucked up position which has been built purposely so only the people that they want fill the places of the other people.
Man, here's an important question.
And you know all the parties who fight, they all party in the same fucking building.
Yeah, man, look, how many social engineers can you name in Dáil proper, qualified, lectured, travelled social engineers. Proper, like guys who have written theses that are important.
Dude,
can you name?
I don't know the name of any fucking person worth talking about in the fucking in the Dáil.
I haven't a fucking clue.
In our constituencies or whatever the fuck.
Man, if one sinner in the entire Dáil is a seasoned veteran social engineer, like a proper social engineer, a guy who can be referred to as
or girl.
A social engineer could be fucking anyone, Dan. You could be a bisexual
I'm making a joke. I'm making a joke, man.
Who gives a fuck, man? You know what I mean? The main point is there isn't one.
No.
I don't care if he looked like the wonderful Wizard of Oz, or if he looked like, you know, a young 21-year-old who was like a fucking prodigy in mathematics. Whatever the fuck. As long as he ticks the boxes of someone who can genuinely contribute to the policies of society and say, yeah, look, I've done the math. This is a good thing for this society. You know, this is, I've just cracked it down well beyond the scope of your current system. I've compared it to the last 2,000 years of the current systems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've computed that something that rises, that begins in, say, 300 and then end at 800 is full maturity. Look, these are going to happen. I can tell you about them now, and you can, you know, they could be minor, and you can add them, or you can resist them, and then you will have a terrible battle to make them just what should be common sense, like abortion laws, like divorce laws. Do you get what I'm saying? Do we have to fight
so
in
many
the courts?
things.
We have to fight in the courts over basic human rights. What the fuck? But
it's like
that is it.
The fact that we even have to fight, man. And do you know what pisses me off as well? When you have these white knights and these fucking, you know, gatherings of people who think they're being so cool by shouting and having these big talks of, and we should accept everybody, and it's like, duh. It's just like, look, you're retarded. If you think that it still needs to be said aloud and go on a big talk in a big campaign that, you know, people should be treated equally, and it doesn't matter if you're black, white, or whatever. If you're a nice person, you're a nice person. Or if you're a cunt, you're a cunt. You know, if you don't already understand that as like the way to normally exist, you're a fucking idiot. And there's like, there's no point going on a big rant and continuing on, because all you're doing is you're fueling a continuous back and forth argument.
I know, a damaging result is
with other people who don't actually care about what you're saying, because
they just want to act on it because they have nothing else to do.
They have nothing else to do.
What is the fucking equation?
And the other people
why
are like,
why does stupidity fall and follow? Oh God, it's frustrating.
Look, the government, half the people in the office sitting there going, why the fuck are we here talking about, you know, gay, blah, 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 we want to make more money, go away. Instead of going, oh yeah, we'll pass the law, sorry. They're so fucking in their own arse. They're like, you're stopping us from making our own money, our own way, can you go away now?
I tell you what's really interesting.
Where if everybody just had it as a common sense order to just be like, no, I'm going to do this. Like if someone came along and went, oh, you can't be marrying gays, and the priest and everyone else and all the other people involved were like, oh no, we're doing it anyway, so you can either arrest the planet or you can just
exactly
go away and not be annoyed about something that doesn't concern you whatsoever, that affects you in no fucking way at all. That's the only time that it's going to become a revolutionary thing, that all this other campaigny stuff stops.
Man, one rich guy, one rich
and gladly it's happening.
Do you know what's happening? No, it was a law that was passed about
Except in
4
Russia,
or 5 years
where
ago.
they just went backwards and went gays are illegal, and it's like, what?
Do you remember in Ireland about 2-3 years ago,
Bad
I think it
move,
was, there was
Russia.
a new law passed in Ireland where it was a blasphemy law. You couldn't insult
Oh,
religion.
yeah!
Do you remember? And Tommy
Don't turn light on
Tiernan,
there.
it almost ended Tommy Tiernan's fucking career. Like, well, at least he disappeared off the radar for quite a bit. I don't know what he was up there, whatever the fuck. But the main thing that was ridiculous in and itself. But so it went
That's
through. It
populist.
went through. The general public must have wanted it because no one complained about it. And it was in for a while, and it was in. Whatever's interesting about this is this rich guy has gone after this law, and he's challenged it at the European Court of Human Rights. And soon enough, if he wins, then Ireland will have to revoke. Our government will have to take back the law.
That's good.
It'll have to scratch that law off that you can't insult religion.
That's a terrifying law,
motherfucker.
dude. It's not about like, oh, you can't insult religion. Well, why would you want to make it legal for people to insult religion? I want to make it legal
because
for us to be able to
the argument
think.
is pure logic. When you ask, how could you be challenged on a theory of insulting someone?
No,
off.
dude. It's not
like
even that.
If someone I like. Fucking Breaking Bad. Oh yeah, well, you're a fucking agent. Fuck you. If you like it, you like it. If you want it, you want it.
It doesn't matter.
Take your fucking pick. But don't get messy about it just because I don't
forcing you to do something you don't want to do, or I'm not inherently physically affecting your life. How the fuck is it relevant?
Fuck off.
Because realistically, if you want to argue it, you're a crazy person.
Yeah.
You're actually mentally disabled and unhinged if you think that arguing that has relevance. That I should be able to affect what you do even though it doesn't affect me at all.
I know.
Because why? You can't have an argument with that. And thankfully now, even though it's kind of weird how they're like super about it because it's kind of like a fad, but I hope the fad when they get older is general logical understanding. But at the moment, it seems to be fashionable to be unbelievably tolerant among the younger people these days. And it seems to not be cool to call someone a queer and slag someone for being a queer or fat anymore. And it seems to be that the people who actually do that tend to get slagged off and bullied. Which is strange.
Let me add
because
some,
I left school
personal experience to that, man.
from like I won't say I got bullied, but I sort of did because I was really sick at the time, and a lot of people didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
And as a knee-jerk reaction as a kid is just to hit it.
But man,
not hit it, but like insult
that
it.
long ago. I mean, come on.
It wasn't that long ago.
But I know of like cases where like that happens down the country a lot, man. I can tell you that. Like it's almost
still
ridiculous
prevalent.
what they're like. Not that they're almost, impelled to say. Whatever the fuck it is that comes across, I'm sure they think about it at first. Should I call this guy this name? Oh God, you've no idea, Dan. They do.
I know.
They say it, and you're like, you did not say that, did you? Are you serious? Did you? Like, I won't say what it was. I mean, no fucking way.
As
man.
much as
Jesus
this sounds
Christ.
really bad and mean to say what I'm about to say,
There's expressive cursing, and then there's just downright rotten mudslinging. This is just the worst kind of shit. And I was like, oh, come on, seriously, you didn't say that, did you?
and I know it's going to sound bad what I'm about to say, but it's the only kind of way I can get the words out of it. That's the problem with segregation of the masses. When you have people who are left out of the loop, and I mean the loop as in, when you're in a city, there is no point where anything is stopped or even slow. Every fucking thing is happening. Day and night, things are moving, information's changing, everybody. If you haven't looked at your phone that day, chances are you'll meet about 30 fucking people who will have looked at the news thing on the news. Or you'll be around people who have all done that. But if you're in a town where you only really hang around with 4 or 5 people, and you go to the same place with the same 4 or 5 people, and none of those people really pay attention to what the news is on their phone because they only found or bothered to get an iPhone recently because no one really had an iPhone, so why would they have an iPhone when no one else does? Yeah. So they finally maybe have a smartphone, but they haven't really fucking gone around looking at that shit.
How did you make your migration from like a basic normal phone to a smart, like say something like an iPhone? I mean, you would have had to want one of Samsung's old ones that didn't have it like.
Hold on, I feel like I have to finish because I can't start off insulting and not kind of give the basis as to why.
You probably didn't make the transition from an old block to
it's the same thing when you talk about the stereotypical Hicks. And when I mean the stereotypical Hicks, I don't mean people who don't live in the city in America, I mean the people who live in America who turn around to you and go, I wouldn't go over to that place, it's full of hicks. Okay? Where the hicks are like, what are you doing here? This is a hick town. I mean those kind of hicks, right? You have those sets of people, irrelevant to the financial structure economy of the country, you will always have those next to the main cities and stuff like that as separate, right? Not as in next to, but like there will always be the main people who are moving with the times, the information's changing, and then there's other people who are stuck in that time zone, and they will not change. I do not count into the same spectrum when I talk about the general masses of people changing with the times. So when I say that, for the most part, with the general times, kids and grown up as they're growing up, seeming to be more tolerant. I don't mean like obviously there is exceptions and there are those places, but it's nice in the future aspect of things to think that at least it's cool that even if it's a fashion or a tweet hashtag this. At least it's good and it's kindness and it's tolerance and it's not the other way around, you know?
It's abuse. Total fucking abuse.
And the problem is as well, is you have the other end of the scale where people are like, hey man, you shouldn't bash Muslims, they're not bad. And that's like, cool. It's those fucking Christians you got a problem with. And it's just like, no, you missed the point, you son of a bitch. You stuck onto an idea, but you didn't kind of realise why it was a good idea.
You had to drag one down with you.
You had to drag another one down with you.
Come on,
no.
why do you even mention it?
It's like, yes, you shouldn't just hate Muslims because they're Muslims, because it doesn't make sense. But you also shouldn't bash someone else because they're not Muslim. Or atheists. It's like, it's okay to be atheist and it's okay to be Muslim. It's those Christians that are assholes. And it's like, no, it's okay to be anything. Just don't be a prick to people and you're pretty much grand. Because if you kind of look at all the books and the Bible and all this and the Quran and the Torah and you rip everything apart and look at the basic message, it's here. Don't be an asshole. And it's pretty good. Life's pretty good if you're not a prick to other people. And if you know that people aren't going to be a prick, you're not going to be assuming that someone is going to be a prick. And you're safe knowing that if someone does end up being a prick, that everyone else is going to go, here, that person's a prick. Get them out of here. So then they get fucked off and they're like, fuck, I shouldn't have been a prick because now I'm alone. And then if they end up meeting a few more pricks, they're like, fuck, well, I guess we're going to have to hang out. I hate these guys. They're pricks. And everyone else in that group is like, man, we're all a bunch of pricks. We can't trust each other at all. What a shit way to live. And they'll either kill each other or go, do you know what? I might not be a prick anymore. And then they'll come back and go, hey, you're not a prick anymore. Come back in. Don't be a prick and we'll let you stay. And that's it. It's like, hey, do not be a prick. Don't piss people off. Don't be a dick. Everybody knows the difference between being a cunt and not being a cunt. The only difference is other people try to justify it and other people don't. And that's it. But you know when you're being a cunt. Try not to be a cunt. And you'll be surprised how awesome life can be for you. Like, it's pretty chill.
But this is, they take the, they don't get that. I don't know about you, man, but I've rarely seen them get that message from it. But what? Fucking hell, Jesus Christ. At least it's took them a long time to cop onto it. Like, really?
Which
fucking
message?
hell.
Not
yours. Like the opposite of it. Like extrapolate all the bad shit.
Yeah, how did they get that shit from it?
And fucking hell, I mean, is the bottom line not the extension of your own life by any means possible? And if you establish the fact that you create a community, not try to keep breaking it down, you create a community, you create a greater network. Like it's just basic survival skills. But yet, oh God, it's like it's designed to allow people to do stupid things. And I mean fucking stupid things, man, ridiculous things. And yet, at the same time, we're able to just turn, oh well, look, that's just how it is, you know what I mean? That's just how it is. But if something good happens, See, it's
a thing about like one-sided ideology interpretation. If you interpret the Bible
very one-sided,
if you interpret the Bible to be turn the other cheek, you end up becoming a patsy that people fucking walk all over. Because the people who don't choose turn the other cheek, they read the fire and brimstone bit, and they read the weak will die. So the ones who believe in the fire and brimstone and think that the strength and archery prevails will trample all over the people who think you should always turn the other cheek to the people who try and trample over you. And that basically is echoed in society, because wherever place we want to live now, we're all based with certain conditions of, you know, our original standpoints which you came from, which was cultures that believed in these greater, higher powers based on, you know, appeasing this thing and doing these right things. And always there was one or two motherfuckers who either because they were crazy, because they were taking shrooms they didn't realise was making them crazy, because no one knew anything about that at the time, or because they were logically that bit smarter and were cunts, happened to be always were the messengers, or the prophets, or the this and or the that, and they were always adorned and above, like Quetzalcoatl, the guy who fucking was like. So basically, what you don't know is I ate a fuckload of psilocybin mushrooms for pretty much a good part of my life.
And now I shall dictate that.
I'm unaware that what it does is basically strip you apart and show you your own demons. And I equated that as I was seeing the demon god. And I thought when it said you have to, you know, bear yourself out and take from you all that is in you that is evil, and all that is you that's giving you strength and life because I'm so bad, and take it out of you. I interpreted that as we got to take a fuckload of people, bend them backwards over stone, cut their hearts out, rip it apart, hold their beating heart while going yeah to the god, and kick them down a fucking staircase. 80,000 people over a week, right? To the moon, the wolf god, who, you know, is angry, and there's always cunts like that all the fucking time. And only recently,
have we
in the mass scale,
these crazy bastards who
are only recently in the mass scale, are we trying to tame these bastards? Are we actually turning around and going, dude, why is that guy just murdering a fuckload of people for no fucking reason? I don't know, bro. I think we should do something about this. You know, so it's starting to spread, but also what's spreading as well is this idea that, hey, it turns out you can be really nice and kind and timid, but it doesn't mean you get to be walked over. You can still turn around and call bullshit. And you can still turn around and go, no, look, I don't like fighting and anything like that. But, you know, if you do something, and I happen to have a glass beside me, and it gets to that point where you're gonna kill me, I'm not gonna sit there and let you kill me. I'll stab you in the neck and I'll face what's gonna happen. You know, or I don't want to hurt people. I would never hurt people. But
of course not.
You come into my house, for the most part, I'm gonna stay silent and go, here, bro, take what you want. You know, and you can take what you want. But if you keep going further, and I happen to have a fucking bat or something, if I know you're gonna hurt, you're gonna, you know, it doesn't mean that you have to have a balance, you know. And as long as you have that balance, then you'll find out, because you'll notice now, with the friends you'll have, any person when they grow up, you always have a much larger group of friends when you're younger than you do when you're older. Oh, cool. Because as you grow older, you manifest more of your personalities.
Yes.
And you
realise
narrow
down the friends you selected as.
You cultivate
conversationists. You know, so many people you can divulge.
Here's the thing:
you can talk to.
The lucky people are the intelligent people who, by naturality or purposefully, cultivate a group of good friends. The other people are people who don't realise it and end up getting dropped by the cultivators to a group where they can only hang around with the douchebags because they were also dropped. And you end up, when you get older,
victory for the for the guys.
When you get older, you realise that all these mates you have, they're not just, oh yeah, he's a good guy. They all will share things like, you can never be like this to another human being. You can never do things like this. Always make sure, you know, and you'll always have those bases completely covered. And the thing is, what's crazy about it is when you have those understandings, all those mates you'll notice you're all very different in many different ways. Vastly different. But those things are pretty common. And here's the thing, when you group with other mates of their other mates who are from the same kind of cultivation, and you're like, and you go on a big, you know, holiday down the weekend, and you go there for like 3 weeks, and you're like, man, we had a really good time. Nobody fought. There was no bullshit. Everyone got along. When someone fucked up, they were called on it, they apologised, and it was all cool. You know? Why the fuck can't that work as a whole? Why can't that work as a whole for a country? It doesn't make sense.
It gets shut down when you make enemies out of the other groups who are doing the same thing.
Us and them.
Doing the same thing. It's us and them theory. It's that, look, if they're developing their kind of own corner of culture where they're very religious, and they make lots of Christian groups and charities, whatever the fuck, Dan, I don't know. I know what we're buried in. I know what we have to be immersed in all the time is a fucking truckload of data. It's shocking amount of data we have to process. Or whatever way you want to look at it, whatever they're really doing with themselves, there is a divide. That's the only reason I can think that one wants to turn on the other and say, you're to blame for all of this.
Those divides are superficial. Those divides are superficial.
This is the thing. They happen anyway. They just happen anyway. But I don't know whether it's good. It's bad policy. I don't know. Like, socially bad policy.
What I don't get is...
Back to my original question. Can you name one decent social engineer with all the traits I asked for, in all of Dublin. All of it. I would even question our own president, but I would say he's fairly qualified. Fairly qualified. At least an
You can't get mixed between the fact that just because a dude isn't a cunt, that he therefore is skilled in all the aspects.
Look, I think he takes care of his charge.
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
For the most part. For the most part, considering, right, he's a decent dude.
Yeah.
Okay, and he has the unique position for the government that he's already very fucking old taking office, if you ask me, right? He's a pretty much cool.
I care for him, man. That guy has a whipped tongue.
Yeah, I know. He's a good guy. No, he's not dumb.
Yeah.
You know, he's not dumb.
But I'd say he's probably the most qualified in terms of at least a bit of a social engineer, as in a philosopher.
Yes, okay, yeah, no, to a certain extent, yes.
I would rate a lot more than some. There with an accountant.
A lot more than some.
Yes, more than some. A lot more than some. But not the degree that I've mentioned. Nowhere near.
The president has dick power in this country.
Even if he was, he couldn't do fuck all.
Yeah.
What could he do? He'd just sign in the laws that the ridiculous government keep passing on. You know, he just has to say yeah. Like, he rarely says no unless he thinks there's a genuine human conflict here, or like there's going to be something happening down the line here that'll cause like some kind of human conflict, whatever the fuck, or human right. Human right is affected in any way. He has to have some kind of like a mediation with it.
Yes,
and then he'll consider saying no. But
however, right, the thing which is why it's unfair for anybody in the societies that we live in, you know, England, America, Canada, Ireland, France, whatever, where they have, you know, general republic parties, and, you know, in you vote in democracy, capitalism, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? When you have it like that, the president to be blamed for everything it's way too much weight to actually put on a fucking person. And considering what you said there about, you know, if given the information he thinks that this is a situation where it's like, no, it's morally wrong, he'll say no. If everybody on both sides giving the information all have incentives to make a certain claim more true than another claim, that's all the information he has. If the people giving the information to that president are both consigned to a pat in the back and a check.
He can request advice, like obviously he can request advice from Europe, especially on human rights issues. He can, like, you know, what do I do here? Like, you know, he can get as much mediation as he likes on the issue. But he can only say no for so long.
At what point do we want an omnipotent being to know automatically that every single person who is legitimately qualified, apparently, in each one of their positions, that every one of them must be suspect all the time to every bit of information the president gives them? You can't have that. Nothing will get done. You have to have some trust in the people you work with. And the problem is that although they might be trusted in that aspect, somebody who might be telling them something might have made a deal. You know, there's always this stuff going around that no one person can ever be held responsible for bad shit that happens.
Man, if you can look at like an interesting situation that happened at the end of World War II, that happened in Ireland, alright? And this is from these, like, should we call them spin doctors? Let's call them spin doctors for now, like these guys. Because they like you said, no experience in the field. What they're doing is just that they can talk shit.
Yes.
Pure fucking shit.
Just waffle on and on.
Yeah, to make the situation at hand
they're so fucking trained in not answering the question.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Exactly. Yeah, spin doctors dictating policy. But anyway, there you go. They have it. But man, it must have been frustrating, like, for many a government. I say, especially with like policies they had to bring in. Oh, cheers, man. Policies they had to bring that they were like, Jesus, lads, will we? Should we try and smuggle it in?
We'll fucking just throw it in there under the... what's an act that's definitely going to pass? Extra oxygen tanks for the kids with cancer. Yeah, that's definitely going to pass. We'll just throw that in under there to add a few more acres to the landmass persons are allowed to own if they work in a job that we work in. Yeah. Tell you something hilarious about Russia, right? You can type in this thing. It's like meanwhile in Russia, or how Russia works, something like that, right? Or I think it's Russia versus Poland. I can't remember what it is. But needless to say, it's one of the scenes, the parts in it is the recorded cameras from a political debate election thing, right? Between essentially the Congress, essentially, right? And what it is a fucking massive room not filled with about 30% of the seats with people in it scattered in and around other places. Some of them are hammered, some of them are asleep, Some of them have their earphones on, they're watching stuff on their phone.
Yeah.
Some of them are chatting, looking at a video on a phone. And another few of them are running through the chairs, every single chair on every row. Because in every chair there's an A, a B and a C button that each person clicks for what they want to vote for. And they run around going click, 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 click on the vote they want passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone in the all the different parliaments have all voted that this particular law gets passed. And by all parliaments we mean the few people who showed up, who weren't too drunk, who didn't fall asleep, and who weren't watching videos. Because they were the ones who were told, you got to be in tomorrow, we need a certain amount of people. You four drew the short straw, so you got to be the people there who aren't drunk, and the rest of you got to be there, but it's okay because you can be drunk. And we want this law to pass because what it means is basically everyone in our job gets another like 50 grand on our bonus, and it also means we're entitled to another car.
Man, it can't be Poland. It can't be Poland.
No, it was around Russia. I know
I'd say it was Russia.
It was Poland versus Russia. It was showing different things from different stuff, and it was just one of the things was happening in Russia, and then.
But it was how the law got passed because they managed to gerrymander the roster, if you will.
Also, cut to in Russia, right? Because the next one was, I think, in Poland, where someone was driving and they just disappear into the road. The potholes the size of the car. It's just torrential rain, and the car's driving, and it just goes. Just a big fucking Jeep went over, and it was a big truck kind of thing, so it went over it. But the small little dinky car just goes and just disappears into it. And then cut to again this cop. And he's in the street, he's driving by a car, and there's these three fucking black Beamers, right? All blacked out Beamers with flags on them, right? And the cop car, they don't have flags on, my apologies. The cop car goes by, and I think they were either speeding, or they bumped into the car, or they beeped at him when he wasn't going quickly, when the lights changed. Whatever it was, the cop got out of the car, right? And was like, here now, you know? Got out of the car, walked over to the window went down. We don't know what happened, but the cop's body language changed, and he had like a more timid body language, and then just, okay, and then gets back into his car and drives off.
What the fuck?
is the mafia, the Russian cartel, the main like people who run all the heavy shit.
Yeah.
They own the government. And the government is totally happy with them owning it, because what happens is they allow them to have those type of elections where they can come in hammered and just click, 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 click to get what they want. And the only thing that the government has to do is not pay a single bit of attention to anything the cartel does. Because at the end of the day, these guys still get to live happily.
Comfortably.
And it's...
That's it,
you sit there and you go...
Lifestyle, that is fucking...
Fuck! Sure. Oh, God, I thought I lived in a bad country! They're fucked!
This is the thing though, man. Ireland is pretty... It's not... I can't debate with
That's why they made it illegal for people to be gay. They needed something for the population to accumulate together, to have something to blame or to ostracize, or have something to take their minds off. To take the minds so they can fill... if they fill topics and everything with that, people talk about it, it becomes a big thing, and then no longer are people talking about the shit job they're working in or the shit life they have. They're now talking about something else while they're living the shit life that they have.
Yeah, exactly. This is why we have a bad life. You know what I mean? The queers are the reason we have a bad fucking... Fucking hell. I mean, if that's the computational skills of it.
Have you read the letter that Stephen Fry wrote?
Yeah.
Stephen Fry used to drink. He used to go down and talk. He was friends with them.
Yes!
Like, he was really good friends.
It must appear absolutely ridiculous.
He'd philosophise with them and talk about literature. He was like, they were really interesting people. I'd really, really good fun with you. I loved your country and I loved your ways. You know, it was a beautiful place. He admires
so much about them, of course. I mean, why wouldn't
he? Like,
there's a lot to look at. There is
because of the new law you passed, I will not be allowed. I will not be able to come to your country again.
Anymore.
I will be arrested.
He is right in saying that they are robbing like Russian artists who were gay of their titles. Like, you know what I mean, by saying, no, if you say he's gay, you're going to be in fucking trouble. What? Fuck off. He was. Like, you know what I mean? That is as I'm sorry.
Russia holds their Russian ballet as hardcore as America holds its football, and as much to its heart as America holds its baseball. Right? Are you gonna fucking tell me that the fucking tradition of men dancing around in tights like fucking little prissy girls had not been founded or at least shaped by maybe possibly men who were gay? I'm not saying everyone who does ballet is gay. I know that for a fact that they're not. My cousin is a Russian ballet dancer, and I've seen her. I've met her boyfriend.
There you go.
Right.
How can one unit of a company or a country
from a person who's from the fucking aspect
the whole spectrum
and knows
Russia,
the whole shit and is like, no, not every fucking ballet dancer is gay, but to say that there isn't a gay ballet dancer is bullshit because the majority of them are.
I mean, again.
And then to say that they're gay and it's illegal for that to be. What the fuck?
Man, it's a small unit of a relatively...
It's like a beautiful classical art from their culture. That's no one can say has more of a better thing
of course.
Of the ballet than
considering
Russia.
It's such a small part of
Don't like
Russia.
it myself, but I know it's important. I know it's a beautiful thing.
Look, like I'm telling you, it's such a small part of the Russian society that's making these laws. It's just simply two fucking components here. It's government and it's church. That is simple. Doctrine to create a common enemy. That's relatively big. And they can have their bickerings over that, and there'll be rows over it, and maybe they might change it back, and then they might not. And who the fuck knows? Because they can swing any fucking way, considering that they need an enemy right now. You know what I mean? They really fucking do. They're in a bad position from time to time, and then they're in good positions. And who the fuck knows? They won't tell anyone anything. You know what I mean? We don't know what the fuck. Are you sick? You know what I mean? But then there's the larger population, remembering that it is a landmass that covers a huge amount of fucking area.
It's the largest country on the planet.
There is a lot of fucking people in this equation, man. That is the bottom line. There are so many more people in this equation who haven't got a voice. We don't know what they're fucking saying because they won't fucking tell us. You know, that is the bottom fucking
Russia's
line.
although Russia has a huge amount that is just nothing. There is a lot of land. But still, Russia has a gigantic population. And for the most part, you don't feel that it's a huge population.
I bet you, if you remove this poisonous propaganda that is carried out against like the LGBT community, the propaganda at its finest, it surely is. It's most, beautiful, if you want to call it propaganda for what it is.
Beautiful destruction.
Yeah, it is. And if you were able to get to common people in Russia before this bullshit rolls up and they get fed this horse shit from their government, and it's, look, weigh up the odds, okay? If you had a gay couple in your community and you had a lesbian couple in your community, and when you stack up the pros and cons and you realise there really isn't any cons per se, it's just pros. In some way they're an additive to every function in society. It doesn't fucking matter what, because they're human beings.
Yeah.
That is the bottom. They don't have a checklist of things they can and can't fucking do just because they're gay and straight. Like, you're straight, you tick every fucking box and everything works for you. Society is perfect. But if you're gay, you only tick these many boxes. So you don't get to have any of these rights that, and me as a straight person has for my whole fucking life. I've never had to question it. I would not like to have to question the gay thing.
Dude, at the very beginning.
Who is making those rules? Who says, right, we have so many 100 million people living across this country, we're going to create a law. We're going to assume that a certain percentage of the population is gay, and we're going to, we're going to ostracize them, right? What the fuck?
It doesn't make any... How does that even solve a problem?
What logic...
I don't even
what cognitive... What logically cog twisted and the other did and said to itself, this seems like a good idea.
And it's the same thing, it's the same as like, okay...
fucking joke so at the top of the church thought that was a good idea.
It makes the same amount of sense, because you can talk to those people and they'll go to this conversation, what I'm about to say, and they'll go, oh yes, that's stupid, that shouldn't happen. And it's the same thing as someone going, hey man, I'm fucking stupid, I'm really dumb, I just can't learn, and I have a problem with learning, and I can't get math, and I'm an idiot. You know what I'm going to do? If I beat up this fat guy, it's okay. It equals everything out. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense.
It's like someone threw a fucking tarantula into the equation. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that'll answer all your problems. What the fuck? No, don't throw that fucking component into society of fucking, let's beat up the small guy. That'll solve everything. You know what I mean? Especially what's great about it is that small guy becomes a scientist, let's say. Goes through school, does fairly well, gets bullied, and there's a lot of them. We know of them.
Oh, yeah.
We know of too many of them. And they get to a stage where they're the intellectuals of the fucking...
Hitler, unfortunately, did
well,
not go the right way.
There's a bad intellectual, but an intellectual all the fucking same. You can't fucking deny it.
You're a retard. You're actually an idiot if you can say that the person that guy didn't have some kind of intelligence. It doesn't matter what he uses intelligence... Well, it does matter. The fact is he used intelligence for bad things. And I think what makes Hitler worse than Genghis Khan and Alexander and all those other fucking people who, by the way... Genghis Khan fucked the world up so much. That's the reason why Israel, Syria, all those places are still in shit. He fucked up. They were the leading fucking country They were the leading place of technology, of maths,
Of their time.
No, dude, hugely like important, of structure, everything, like the buildings, everything, and they came and tore everything to the ground. And it's stated to say that they still haven't recovered. But here's the thing: they did not come from a time where we had already had a fucking world war.
Yes.
With society and economy
Genghis Khan
and
developed
fairness
a form of warfare
and equality and all that shit.
Thin air.
That was at a barbarous time where
Yeah.
people were just realising what people were.
He had very little previous understanding of previous wars and battles.
And it was only
how
growing.
China had formed to become an empire.
When it
he
happened,
was still a horse.
it wasn't that he disappeared for ages and then it happened. It's as he was going through his decades.
He learned.
It learned. And you know that, and it happened because they started off with clothes from sewing pieces of rats together, and at the end they were in gorgeous darbs and drabs of like the finest silks and golds and stuff.
Surely
you know?
the intellectual level of Genghis Khan at the time
But
was
the difference
phenomenal.
is, this dude grew up, Hitler
Even
grew
if
up
as
in a
bad as he
fucking time where there was school, education, harmony, people were kind, people knew about all these things, there was economy, there was information.
No, the technology hadn't been built at the time. When Hitler was a child, even with World War One, they weren't fighting in the technology that was instrumental in World War Two.
Dude, Da Vinci had already fucking existed, alright? All that shit had already happened.
I know, but it hadn't been used. And then Hitler seen this as an artist and went,
oh no, I don't
why
mean,
are we not?
I don't mean that. I mean the sense of society had kind of stopped the whole barbarous rape and pillage thing. It had stopped the whole, let's all do that shit. And it was kind of, that Crusades was crazy. Let's just forget about that. And then the whole World War One thing, whoa! Right, we finally stabilized things kind of slightly. Okay, and that guy just ended up tearing things apart. But he did exactly what so many other people have done throughout the years. He saw broken people, he was a voice for their suffering, and he gathered them together under a common enemy with the promise of a better, pure, perfect future for everybody.
He used the tool set at his time to do the most...
Dude, if you were down and out and you realised your previous government had fucked not just their own country but all the other countries beside it, and then someone... And you were like, everything was shit. Everything just turned to shit. And then somebody was like, listen, we should do something about this. I think we should gather together, and I think we should say no more to this. And I think we should look upon a society and an ideology of better people living better lives with more synchronicity. You go, Jesus, this guy's a lot to talk about. And Jesus, he's gone to college. He's learned about social science. He's learned about all these kind of things. He was a fucking painter. He's done art. This guy knows what he's talking about. Yeah. He ends up becoming important in Austria, and then ends up leading the country of Germany.
I know.
That's like being in college that's like being in college in Ireland, and over through the years growing up, and now you're the Prince of England. It's just like, how the fuck did you get from A to B? You're a cunt, but you're a conniving cunt. You know what I mean? But it's
his transformation was truly amazing, and his mentor,
it's just this constant thing that there's always these cunts who find a way to manipulate the masses, who have too much stress in their day-to-day to think about the grand scheme. So they just go, oh, okay, whatever, cool, I have to get back to this. And at the same time,
imagine.
It's creepy, because our governments and our lives now, in some ways, although it's going against them and they can't stop the tidal wave, which is why they're trying, and it's happening so more prevalently, that we're getting more and more and more technology, information. People are starting to go,
spread ideas.
Turns out I don't have to have my own big research funded lab. It's cheap enough now, and I can get with the knowledge and with online and everything, I can get all the things that I want to just build a new invention in my fucking gaff. Right? So all that shit's becoming much more stronger. So the tidal waves coming, it's too strong. The riptide's too strong for everyone else. But what they are doing is they're trying to do what the same law of Hitler and the Reich, which is at no point did they go from Jews are grand to Jews have to go and be burned. They bit by bit by bit took these little things like, oh, it's okay, just go and we have to put you for a second, we're just going to take all your names, just so we know who owns the stuff.
From a different fountain there,
and it's like, no, just let you, like we have your luggage, we're going to bring it to you, but we need to have all your names, and you have to have a number attached to your luggage, so you all get your luggage when you go to the new place. It's no, it's like these houses, they're shit, so we're doing whole remodeling, so we're going to move you here for a second while we rebuild this area, and then you can come back, and it'll all be grand, like, so just go, and like, oh, okay, and then while they're there, it's like, oh, listen, look, a thing of lice broke out and stuff for this thing, so we're gonna have to take all your clothes. You know, and the bit by bit by bit by bit, and you see it happen with things like things are going up and up in price, and you know your money's starting to seem less and less and less, and that's also because of the system that they use, which is retarded, based on ones and zeros. That's reflecting no tangible actual assets for the money that the ones and zeros represent. But nevertheless, and things like the water and stuff, and it's like, ooh, we're gonna have to start putting water charges. Turns out the previous people fucked the place up so much that it cost a lot of money to give people clean water. So we're going to have to take that out of people. So more money for us, because if we do the other way around, we'll have to give them our money in order to make it balance. And we're not doing that. So we're just going to take from these people, and we're going to give them something else to complain about in the background while it happens, and we'll cover the newspapers with this thing.
We're going to blame them for us.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get onto my mate, and he knows this chick, Miley Cyrus, who apparently is popular, and he's going to basically put her in a situation with the right people in the right scenario and the right fucking shit being tossed at her, where she's going to make a massive scene. The right people are going to be there with the right cameras, and it's going to blow up all over the news. They're going to get back to my mate. He's going to be on the news. He's going to get back to me, and it's going to be deadly. And we're going to get through this, and we'll still have our fucking massive house and our deadly cars. Make the correlation
between the first statement of, like, the first declaration of this is bad because of them, right? Say for any small group that, this process began, and you say, right, like the regime began propaganda saying that if, say, Jews worked in your shop wouldn't sell goods, you would go out of business, people would stop coming into you. And exactly what is the Russian government saying about if you have like a gay people cause to business? And let's mirror these two things. Let's look at them like that and say,
oh, it's the exact same.
It's the
same, man. I'm not even going to go down that road right now, because it's just
same.
It's a
exactly
continuous
the same, right?
explanation of obvious facts. Like, it's creepy, it's fucked up, it's sinister. Right. Why are we paying for water charges? Why are people's houses apparently not worth anything anymore?
Yeah.
What? How does that? Nothing has changed. The building is still the building. It still has rooms for people. It's still got beds and stuff. The electricity is still a thing that exists in nature. It's still there. How all of a sudden is this building now worth cunt? When a couple of years ago, it was worth way more than it was to scavenge the individual fucking parts, and including shipping and all that shit. It will cost you less money to rent a digger, to rent an excavation, to go and get the fucking bricks, to get the mortar, to hire the people to build it and put it together, than the actual thing on a real estate building average says that it's worth. And you have all these cunts going, I'm worth all this money in a house they've never fucking paid for. Because that bank has turned around to some other company and gone, what basically we've done is we've hired this cunt. We've given this cunt this house and he thinks he can pay it, but he totally can't. But the gaff is worth like 200 million. And we've only given it to him for 100 million loan. He's never going to pay it back. So what we're going to do is, his loan is like, if you double his loan and pay us, it'll still be less than what we've told everybody the house is actually worth. So it all works out perfectly. Whereas the moment that guy thinks for a while he's living in a deadly house, and at some point it's going to be taken from under him, and the fact is it was never him to begin with. So he has no ownership over it, so he can't say dick. High five! And it's like, let's build everything on this idea. And then you're in this situation, you're like,
you see the pyramid,
this is super silliest! How did you get from A to B without someone getting fired for a stupid decision? Or for being an arsehole? But I want to totally change the schematic, because the conversation can get real serious when you talk about that shit. I want to talk about funny, weird, odd things, right? Coca-Cola. Okay? You know that unique taste that Coca-Cola has? Yeah. Which is why Pepsi can suck Coca-Cola's dick. Because although people might go, I prefer Pepsi to Coca-Cola, it's like, okay, but it doesn't taste the same. It's like, oh, it tastes better. No. It tastes differently.
I've seen some of the best memes on, the debate between the taste of
Coke and Pepsi, right? I don't care what I have to say. The fact is, the reason why Coke tastes delicious is because Coke used to be made, is made from cocaine. It's made from the coca leaf. That is what gives it its flavour, mixed with the sugar. That's what gives it...
anymore,
no, listen to me. It's made still from cocaine. The old day, it started off as, I think it was a guy, he wasn't a pharmacist. He was a medicine person or something like that in training, right, in the army. And they needed him to come up, because loads of people were either getting, it was either migraines or a cold, or a cough or something. He had to come up with something. So he invented this drink, which had cocaine in it, right? Made from the coca leaf. Because at the time,
did he not have alcohol in it at the same time?
A lot of medicines at the time, right, took from cocaine. because they didn't know that the result wasn't they were making people better. It was giving them this false stimulant that was making them look and act and think, feel like they were better, but they actually weren't. So a lot of medicine.
It was a great numbing agent.
It was a great numbing agent, right? But what happened was a lot of people really liked the taste of it because it was nice, because you made it with a bit of sugar, you know, and it was nice. And then it turns out that, you know, when they sold it in the pharmacies, a lot of people really liked this drink, and it turns out people weren't buying because they were sick, they were buying because they liked the taste. So they were like, lucrative business, so they were like, Grant, we'll make a fucking drink. But it's a bit of a syrupy, it's not going to work that way. I heard that there's this new trick with carbonated water. Will we try that? We'll try that. Holy shit. This is delicious. So they sold it to people. It became really popular because it had fucking cocaine in it. And guess what? Turns out once your body has a good bit of cocaine, it loves more cocaine. So that's why it became so fucking popular. So now what they do is they have this chemical which I can't remember the name of it, but I do know that you have to still going. You have to like have a suit on, like Breaking Bad style, when you're dealing with this chemical, because it's that bad. And they use that chemical in a process, and it extracts the cocaine, the cocaine from the syrup, from the thing that is this form of Coca-Cola, right? Yeah. And they use that cocaine. It's sold to pharmaceutical companies for medical grade cocaine products, and then the initial Coke, what's not, doesn't have cocaine anymore, is what's left, and it still has the flavor. Yeah. So that flavor you get from Coke is cocaine. And the mad thing about Coke is, even though companies like Dr. Pepper aren't owned by Coke, Coke own bottling rights in a lot of countries, and Coke own bottling plants in a lot of countries without their actual name to it. So incidentally, a company like Dr. Pepper couldn't distribute what they distribute in a lot of places if they didn't... Without
a distributor or someone making the bottles in that country.
Without Coca-Cola allowing them to pay for the rights to distribute.
It's fucked up.
They own 90%. They own fucking almost everything. I think Pepsi is the only one that they don't really own. But even still, there's a lot of bottling plants that...
Didn't Pepsi pass out Coca-Cola last year?
I think so.
Yeah. But like a $500 million or something.
They don't...
Fuck you, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, but the thing is, Coca-Cola doesn't care because...
Oh, of course not. They own so much more.
No, they own a lot. Dude,
that was just strictly in drinks. That was just strictly in drinks.
Yeah,
Coca-Cola owns vast amounts of shit. Like
I mean in drinks though. Like
Pepsi don't. Well, I don't think they do.
Some of the bottling plants for Pepsi are owned by subsidiaries of Coca-Cola.
Yeah. Well,
so it doesn't even matter. Coca-Cola still gets money.
They make weapons. They make guns. Yeah. So the same company that owns another company that owns whatever the fucking system they have set out there that makes guns.
It's hilarious. Yeah. And the strange thing about it is, I can't help but love that drink. It's so goddamn delicious. It's like my favourite drink on the planet because nothing tastes like it. Nothing in the world. Sugar cane and coca leaves make the most amazing drink. And it's shit in America, no offence America, because you use fucking high fructose corn syrup. And that changes the taste. I was so surprised at the taste of Coke with ice. It was even with or without ice, it was like, this is not the same drink at all. And in England, they have hard water. Their water isn't the same as ours. So their fucking Coke tastes different as well. And I was like, you really need...
purification.
You need good water, and you need cane sugar. And that's syrup that's taken from coca leaves. And that is the most amazing flavour on the planet. And the thing is, loads of Coke companies, or like RC Coke and all that shit, they're never allowed to replicate that flavour. Because they don't own that right.
No, I know.
So they have to make it
like 1,000-year
different.
Lease on that.
They have to make it different on that because it can't be. That method is patented to fuck. So that's why you'll never get a flavour that'll taste like that.
Jeez, imagine trying to make it yourself though. Oh,
plus, fuck. How many fucking drinks out there are predicated on their sales from being actual fruit flavours?
None.
No,
all fake flavours.
Fanta lemon, Fanta lime. You've all these other drinks with like fruit flavours. They don't have an actual cola flavour because cola flavour
processed rubbish
because it can't taste like cola. It's like, and they didn't do it back at the in an arsehole way. They didn't sweep the rug from someone else.
No, they were just the first to make it.
It started years and years ago, and just by happenance became this really, really big thing. That at the time, if you missed the opportunity, you shouldn't have had that job. You shouldn't have been a scout. You shouldn't have been an investor if you missed that opportunity. And it's just like they're the titans of titans, but it was an accident of cause and effect. It didn't seem to be a lucrative scheme from a few people who had a agenda to become really powerful maniacs. You know, and it's like, I must own the world.
They were just the first. You know what I mean?
I will own all the world and all of its lands.
I hold all the chips. Why? Because I made the first one. Fuck you, buddy. But like, look at the other ones that have gone the same path as Coca-Cola, owned as much as they have.
McDonald's, man.
McDonald's, right? That's what they had to do to everybody else.
That fucking guy sold the idea. Like, he must be kicking himself.
Yeah. Who?
So, the guy, McDonald's started off as a small restaurant from my neighbour. We got a lot of time. McDonald's started off as this one dude's restaurant.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was two brothers.
Yeah, two brothers, and it predicated on like good food but quick.
And no cutlery. No cutlery. It had to be finger food. All had to be finger food. That was the main basis for the idea.
And some investor saw it, liked it, and said, "Can I buy the idea and make it into a franchise?" And they were like, "Oh, okay, cool." So we gave them a nice check, and they went, "Okay." Fast forward a couple of years later, those guys are like, Coke's worth billions, or McDonald's is worth billions. I didn't even know a billion existed until... A billion didn't exist until things like McDonald's came along and made that kind of money.
Those brothers must be mega.
Either A, they're super humble and they were really happy with what they got, and they were like, this allows us to live the life we want without having to worry about other shit. We don't care. Or they were duped. But either way,
they're clearly not as rich as the guys who really own McDonald's. But anyway,
loaded.
Of course they fucking.
They're a tyrannical fucking company.
Wonder what it's like to be a billionaire.
But that. More happy weird shit. It rains diamonds on Saturn.
So I heard.
Which is,
well, not so I heard. So I read.
Yeah, which is absolutely slick. Compressed
it
carbon.
Might, in theory. If the model fits, then it'll.
Still, the idea, intense pressure, compressed carbon, shocked by intense storms, intense pressure, intense heat. Boom! Diamonds. And the thing is, that place has no fucking surface.
Liquid diamonds.
Like Saturn has no floor. There's
liquid diamonds.
Liquid diamonds.
It would look like rain.
Yeah.
If you could exist in those in that atmosphere, if you could exist, if your body was suddenly tuned to be able to, and you would see that, I imagine what you would see is like, it would look like rain. If you could somehow see past the 200, 300, 400 mile an hour winds, okay, you would see water going this way. So it would be basically like layers of water. Think about it, 300 and 400 mile an hour winds.
It would look
the fastest
like,
we would see vertical rain at 100 miles an hour. Imagine what 400 miles, consistent the whole way around the world, you would see consistently horizontal fluid, diamond fluid.
It would be beyond like the kind of spectrum of light and stuff that you would receive, and atmosphere and all to your senses. If you could control that and like hone in on it. Dude, it's crazy. No. That's like you're not meant to go there.
I think someone just needs to imagine it first. If anyone could plant the idea into their head, right? Let's just stack up all the conditions that are on Saturn, right? Extreme velocity, extreme wind. Okay, there's no landmass. So you're essentially standing in a cloud vacuum that's moving so fast.
Extreme pressure.
Yes,
like
extreme pressure.
Underwater to the depths that we can't go, kind of level of crush anything almost pressure. Like it's crazy. Almost. Not a black hole, and it's completely sustainable.
Yeah.
But it's still its own pressure keeps itself
extraordinary. We can recreate that pressure on Earth, like in a machine. We can't do it, and we've seen what it does. I mean, to make technology that can even work in that situation can't be done yet. So to imagine yourself in it, right? You just have to totally fantasy here. I'm talking Dr. Manhattan. Has just appeared on Saturn, and he is now looking. Now imagine it, okay? I wonder what it looks like. You will be looking at like. Imagine being in an ocean where the water was moving past you at 400 miles an hour.
You weren't moving with the water. You were stationary.
You were staying perfectly still. Right? And you're below the ocean. You're about 50 meters down, so there's some sunlight. You can see something, but you can't entirely. And now, imagine the bodies of all the oceans, like from the whales to the, from the change in plankton color to everything, just passing by you at 400 to 500 miles per hour. Imagine what Jupiter is like. That would be crazy because it emits its own fucking light. It's crazy, man. It's Jupiter, although not
its
near.
red spot can hold like 100 Earths or something like that.
4. It can.
400 Earths.
No. Maybe 400. I'm not entirely sure.
Because I know the sun is 1,000,000 Earths.
Yeah.
The sun is 1,000,000 Earths. And
I thought Jupiter was like No, maybe the red spot does then, yeah, maybe it does.
It's not a million. I think it's like 100 Hertz or something.
Either way, let's get back to our bubble here.
Yeah.
We're in our bubble and all this shit is going past you at 500 miles an hour. So all the bodies that are contained in that body of water are passing by you at this speed. So from looking this way, you will see maybe a blue whale in the distance and gone straight past you. It will be that fast.
It will be a multi-infinite fractal spectrum of colours and lights and likes that you would never have been able to perceive.
Apply high pressure, which means that all those bodies will attract to each other. So they will form into kind of like layers.
Yeah.
Kind of like streaming layers, because they won't be all gassy and shit. It'll be way too fucking dense to be gassy. They'll be like small droplets of diamonds. Okay, and they'll be going moving so fast that they'll appear in layers. They'll appear to be hovering layers that'll just, you know, it's not rain that'll fall to it does to the earth. This is the crazy thing when people initially think of it.
The thing is, if you want to reach out and touch it, it will probably rip through you.
All right, if you're Dr. Manhattan, if this shit was like that, you would. If you were Dr. Manhattan, right, and you put your hand out, right, this shit would hit you so hard it would nearly cause a nuclear reaction.
Yeah.
So it would. It would if you were indestructible. So through paradox, you know what I mean. When this meets your hand cannot move. It has to react in full. It has no room for a cause.
The energy that is inside a pencil or a rubber or a fucking paperclip is made of many, many little atoms.
But let's imagine
this. For people who don't know, if any, because everyone probably does, right? But on the odd chance, just for the spectrum of it, right? A single atom, when you split that, that's a nuclear fucking bomb.
I know.
That's one of those big guns of big guns, which is why we won't go to nuclear war, because everybody has nukes and everybody knows we're all fucked.
Let's go back to Mr. Manhattan.
But a pencil
hitting you at 100 miles an hour will kill you.
It's fucking
straightforward
nuts.
stuff. But if on these conditions,
let's add more than 400 miles an hour. But with the pressure as well, it would equate.
That's what I was about to say. Let's add some more conditions. We have extraordinarily high pressure. I mean, these things on Earth, if they were to appear on Earth, if we were to somehow to make a tiny little wormhole where this piece of diamond it could fly onto Earth, I don't know whether in seconds it would solidify and become like a 500 mile an hour projectile, faster than the average 9mm bullet.
Yeah.
Projectile. What would it stop at? It's a diamond. I'm sorry. It was formed in the most extraordinary conditions. So it probably purifies to an extraordinary level. Granted, it hasn't been too badly contaminated. So this thing becomes think about anything that could create anything like that from another planet. Say with diamonds that are liquid, flying at 500 miles an hour past your eyes. You wouldn't recognize them.
No.
They would look like a continuous line. Like I imagine like a hologram.
It would
or something
be
like that.
Like when they looked at The Matrix and your man was like, can you read all that? And Neo at the beginning just sees green writing on black like we do. And Cypher's like, oh, you pick it up, right? I don't see the whole spectrum like Morpheus, but I can see blonde, brunette, redhead. It will be, you're essentially seeing diamond matrix multi-spectrum colour.
Imagine this.
And you wouldn't be able to understand what you're looking at.
If the wind carry the liquid effectively, horizontally, right, on a continuous. Imagine like globular blobs that would eventually, and they would never hit the ground. They would continuously fly at 500 miles an hour. Why the fuck would they ever go down? It's
always raining on Saturn.
They are moving so fast. They are not dictated by the laws of gravity. They are not by projection. They are not bound by the need to fall, nor the need. They've got so heavy they will sit at a certain level as they form. This thing will be dictated by its own gravitation until I'd say it gets big enough that maybe it gets so big wind can't carry it and it falls down to. Imagine a diamond the size of a house eventually got so heavy it, like in precipitation. It would have to get to a size big enough for gravity to take over. Just like in our system of precipitation, that happens in very low pressure and in a mild, like a really mild atmosphere, okay? And it falls as little drops that size. So let's turn all that shit up. Let's turn every bit of that up, the fucking wazoo.
Then the size has to be exponentially
car-size liquid diamonds. By the time they can't be carried, because let's say a Storm Category 5 can carry a good pickup truck here, Dan. You know what we're talking about here. A full fire truck can be carried away, but a diamond will be solid.
Isn't that crazy when you see when Mother Nature simply queefs.
Dusts up a little bit of
doesn't,
wind.
No, man, if
and
it does, it barely breathes.
Let's go down that path, because I'm not trivialising the effects of serious weather on
okay.
Earth. Bad shit has happened. But I will say this, in comparison to like interstellar storm conditions like the red spot. Good grief!
No, good
God.
fucking Janie Waney, man.
No.
I'm trying not to say the Lord's name in vain, because apparently it's still illegal.
Do you know? No.
Is it still, by the way, illegal to say... Technically, is it illegal to say Jesus Christ? Like, Jesus Christ.
Technically speaking, it's not. No.
But I thought you said they haven't actually passed... They haven't retracted the law yet.
Some dude's gone after it in the European court to challenge it. It's in law at the moment.
So at the moment, is it actually illegal to say Jesus Christ?
I think it had to be put up on hiatus for the moment, until it's decided at the Supreme Court.
Oh, so the moment it's hiatus, so you can still say to get away with it.
It was in force, and this guy came along and said, hey, and it had to be put up on a shelf until they decided, did this conflict with any human rights? And when the European court comes back and says, yes it does, as it does in all other European states, the Irish government will have to say, right lads, fuck that one in a bin.
It's going to be brilliant. And then you can say Jesus Christ, no bother, instead of Janie Mac.
There will be masses who will say, oh, you can't insult religion, like what? What the fuck of it? You wouldn't insult. If you insulted my taste in Breaking Bad, I'd probably be as equally insulted. Like, well, fuck you. I thought it was all right. Like, you know what I mean? I just consider it on that level of importance to me.
But you gotta feel as well. What do people find as insulting? Because if someone knows,
it's like
if
someone has told
knows,
them to be insulted by it. It's like, look, if this guy says this, right, you should react badly. Okay?
Exactly.
You should fucking say to him, you know, blah blah blah. You don't believe God, blah 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 blah. I'll save you. To which the atheist can only shut down his point of view because he said, we have transcended a point of logic here. There's nothing I can do for you if you won't accept the fact that you can't save or help me or anything. I'm not just sick. I'm not devoid of anything you have. You've just a completely different construct to me. Perhaps we have a similar one. Who knows? But the point being is, if you don't let go of that view, if you keep that, there's going to be no conversation between us.
If you say to someone that's something...
One is rattling the bell of, well, he's sick. The other one is rattling the bell of, I can't have this fucking idiot. I'm sorry. What else can you call him? Because he just won't listen to any form of logic. And let's dictate it in it this way. With atheism and me, man, and I have to say this, it's really important to me that it's like to say somebody, I don't like, no, that's too simple to say. They like, I don't like a movie, and you do like a movie, and that's why you like it, and blah blah blah. No, it's even simpler than that. I mean, it's like someone crying over an empty grave, right? That there's nobody in, right? And it's someone there you can only imagine. You can project what you want to cry about on that empty grave, or you can, if you want to, if that's your personal feel, you must, then do it. Like, you know what I mean? But like, if an atheist were doing this, like, look, if I agree with all the laws, there's no component of me that needs to be here to do this. I would rather spend it if I knew it was going to be filled. Let's imagine if I knew that someone was going to be in that pretty soon. Why would I be there? What the fuck would you be like? You know what I mean? And then you can't have that argument because it's the spiritual meaning of it.
No.
Fuck.
There's this other kind of backup thing. If you say to someone, as you said, you should be angry when someone shouldn't insult by this at all. Then what happens is someone, when they're having a bad day, will misconstitute someone saying, asking a question or going in a tone of, oh, I didn't realise that, to, excuse me? Are you insulting me? And no, I just thought that was odd. I didn't think you that's what you did, that's what you thought, or I was just saying that I found it weird, I didn't know about this, but that's a bit odd, and I didn't mean to, I think, oh, you fucking insulted me, you know what you are, you're a fucking Jesus hater, you're this hater, and it's just like,
big JC. It's funny.
Get out, leave right now. Leave the building.
When you start to remove components of your argument that really contribute to the argument in the best way possible. That is, like, look, the most important things: evidence, logic, rationale, and reason. Right? You can't ask for much more than that, like, you know what I mean? But when you start going metaphysical, and there's no explanation,
I don't want to keep going down this fucking path, because we've already gone down and it's real long. So I want to fucking one of the other funny things I want to say, or odd things, was one about Coca-Cola, which is just hilarious. That the taste is cocaine and cane sugar.
It might as well be dipped in it now.
But
maybe that's why we like it.
There's a snail, and it's called. Oh, fuck! I'm so bad with names. Right, next time I'm actually gonna have to load a list of things right there. Yeah. But essentially, right, there's a snail that it has a particular venom in it, right, and the venom is apparently a fucking fantastic painkiller. with pretty much no bad side effects for humans, and it's not addictive.
Go away.
Yeah, and it's only just like people
Been
developed, and they're like,
Yeah.
ooh, let's see if we can, we can get use for this, right? And there could be a problem in the same problem of weed, as it's not something that could be realistically synthesized, so it can't be patented and it can't be sold by a pharmaceutical company as their own product.
Yeah.
So there might be a problem there. Because one of the problems with weed is weed has so many different properties and like components in it working all in synchronicity with each other, that's what makes it do the thing that it does.
Yes.
So you can't synthesize one. You have to synthesize everything, and it doesn't work the same way as they've tried with legal smoke and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
And it fucks people up. It's not good, and the side effects are huge. And they're looking like, oh, this is actually quite damaging, considering marijuana isn't at all. Ironically, even though we read all these laws. I'm not even go into that, like. But anyway, they got that from the snail, and something else about like hilarious animals or insects and stuff. There is the hawk moth. I think it's the hawk moth, right? And this is awesome, right? Its main predator is bats. Okay, now bats see from sonar. As you know, they shout a sound, and then the sound hits off things, and they can see or feel. When
I know the general. For people,
but for anyone else, they can basically, when that sound stops and hits something, they can feel that the sound has hit something, so they know, oh, there's a wall there, and it's the same technology.
Message bounces back, and they can tell the break is something is breaking the sonar.
Thank you for elaborating on my high inability to constructualize my sentences. I don't even think constructualization is a word, but nevertheless. Essentially, right, that's how they see it. Like the same way a submarine, finds shit and a ship works and stuff, right, with sonar. Or if you've played any Batman game, the Bat Vision.
Bat Vision, you can hear
or seeing the Dark Knight. Bat Vision.
So what does the moth do?
What the moth do? The moth does is the moth has been programmed or designed, whatever way, to have a very hard exoskeleton on its chest, right? And a really big dick.
Boy.
And it's intelligent or designed to know that the best way to fuck up a creature is to fuck up its senses. And if you can't see what you're doing when you're flying, you're fucked. So if I emit a sound which is on the same frequency as the bat's screech that helps them see, it's going to jam their frequency, and they're either going to miss me, B, fuck themselves up, or C, go, bollocks this, I'm bailing home. So what it does is it fits itself in a position, it lets its big dick swing, and it furiously on its own accord, not with its hands, on its own hinge, right, beats its dick off its chest to a hummingbird level speed. The vibration creates a sound which disrupts the bat's sonar. That is the hawk moth.
The King Kong of
badassery. It is the obsessive compulsive masturbator of the insect world. So much forth, it's evolutionized its masturbation to incorporate its own survival.
Not only that, it repels its #1 predator.
It's survival. It incorporates its survival.
Take out that, your sword, my say man.
There is the bola spider, right? And she is a beauty. This bola spider gets her web, right? And her particular web is quite gloopy when it comes out. And she lets it drip onto this ball. And this little ball gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it twines itself a little string, a chain, if you will, for it to hold. Then it perches itself up. And when a moth flies by, and it's hilarious, and you should YouTube this if you can find it, it swings its bola, preparing, and it stands with its leg and it swings its bola, and as the moth goes by, it goes bang, and just clocks the fucker on the head, and it just knocks to the ground and gets stuck to the bat, and she hits it off something and gets caught in the web, and then she has her bola for round 2. And then there's the gladiator spider, who sits there with all its 8 legs, and it's like really intricately like fingering and going through and and like pulling his hands in and out, and every once in a while they'll go back fingering, and then they'll stretch out really far and then go back in. And what he's doing is he's making this really intricate net like a gladiator would use in the arena of the Roman Colosseums. And he'll perch himself in a particular place, so all his legs are completely in a cone, right, all direct into one position, all touching each other. And there'll be a little insect underneath. And when the insect walks by, He lowers himself in one of his treads. He drops down, opens all his legs up. It drops into this massive net that goes and encompasses the whole insect, and then reaches himself back up, and it pulleys just like a gladiator net, and wraps around them and traps them up, and they're already cocooned, and he goes, and then begins working on his next one.
Jesus Christ, man, that is crazy, almost spooky, like, you know. That's traits developed, and how mad is it that they did develop out of,
Dude,
how species have survived, what diets they had, what all they had.
There's an octopus.
They had to adjust to and adapt this system of hunting to survive, because that is simply what they're doing at a primary level.
What's strange is it's in nature. It's in nature,
yes.
right? These spiders, which are all the spiders, are evidently essentially all the same, right, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And even though some of them might live right fucking beside each other, over the years they have developed completely different looks, styles, methods, everything, to the point that their body even shapes differently as a result. And they might be right fucking beside the other set of spider, or the other insect.
Entirely different habitats. Completely different habitats, and I mean, there's lots of them that do it, but spiders, oh fucking hell.
No, man, I don't mean just, I mean creatures in general. When you have a place, they're all, like in the rainforest, it's all the same fucking habitat. But you have, like, they're finding new creatures every day for those fucking things.
I know.
Those things, though, they are built for the kill.
Oh,
they're class creatures, though.
It would be a real concern if I ever had to move country. If I ever had to leave
It'll be a real concern if those fucking things...
I would be genuinely looking at, man, I would be scared shitless.
It would be a huge concern if those things got larger. And you know what's scary? Well, not scary, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of like do-do-do-do-do-do-do, is as the climate changes, right? Although global warming obviously has affected it, because it has, evidently. But here's the thing. The ice age is still an ice age as long as there's polar caps. Right? As long as we polar caps, we're still in an ice age. And when we change out of an ice age, the temperature changes, okay? And it becomes a lot more warmer.
Yeah.
Evidently. Now, the size of insects back in the dinosaur days, right, before our atmosphere was changed, when they're pretty 90% sure, 99% sure, that it was a fucking massive catastrophe that wiped out most of the dinosaurs, right? It's pretty much almost confirmed now, where though when I was growing up and we were told it was confirmed, it wasn't. It was a fucking random theory, like string theory.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, we're pretty fucking sure, like, because it also vastly changed our atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
And as a result, the oxygen density in the atmosphere, and then after everything, it all changed, and then, started the ice age, right?
Less oxygen in the air, and that resulted, because oxygen dictates the size of spiders. That is crazy.
Oxygen dictates the size of most insects on the planet.
Yeah. Because exoskeleton creatures, they have that oxygen in the air, so that means less. What is it? Less in their system that allows them to like enlarge. Hugely, fucking massive.
It's ridiculous. They're directly correlated with the percent. It's ridiculous. Like, they've already seen. There's these new hornets.
Yeah, but they're not new. No, they're around for fucking ages.
They're around for, but
they've never migrated to where they're going now.
They've never been able to because they've never been able to survive.
I seen one. I seen a hornet.
That's the thing about the spiders,
right? I should have
right?
never seen a fucking hornet down. This was on a job down the country, like a hornet in Ireland. It was fuck.
And they're still not as big as those other fucking cunts.
Some of the ones on the way. But they're migrating. Species migrating from warmer countries. And this is getting spooky because if that happens...
we were never able to support it before, but now we can. And there's a thing, right, as well. There's a lot of spiders that always existed in Ireland, but we never, ever saw them because they hid in around places that was just better for them. Now, everything's getting warmer in Ireland. And we're starting to see a lot more fucking spiders than before. Bigger spiders. And do you know what changed as well? All the stuff that was migrating over and coming to our country died. It's not dying anymore.
No. That's right.
And
it's surviving, right? At least it's getting a couple of generations at least. And hornets are an example of this.
Oh, yeah.
A first survival generation of hornets that have come to Ireland and survived.
I will have to research the...
They will simply adapt over generation and generation and generation. And then we'll have... That's the beginning of it. But look, we are going to have hornets, man. We're going to have fucking trouble.
I'll have to research the time and when it happened. But Ireland, at some point, the country, the landmass that we were, it was rainforest.
Oh yeah.
Why do you think it looks the way it looks? We're still humid. I realised this that I was an idiot. We still have a very humid climate.
No.
But it's not humid in heat. It's humid in moisture.
Air moisture.
It's air moisture. And
moisture content.
What did we call it? The damp. We have the damp. And it's the cold that gets into your fucking bones.
Yes.
No matter how many layers of clothes or thermals you're wearing, it gets into your fucking bones.
Yeah.
And that is because we were really cold, but we still had that really thick moisture in the air. As it's getting warmer, it's going back slowly and slowly. It'll take a long time, as it will. We'll all be dead by the time we see a huge change. But it will.
Oh, be careful, man. There can be sudden shifts.
Sudden shifts,
can
yes,
happen, man.
but we will not we will not see a day after tomorrow incident. It will not happen. Because
I don't know. I know it sounds like total and utter nonsense, man. Total and utter nonsense. But there is one big block of ice.
If we think, dude,
it wouldn't happen over a few days.
If we think that we did that much, we're that powerful, and did that much irreversible damage to the Earth, that it's just gonna go ba-boom.
No.
You're
Man,
mistaken.
It would be a natural process. This would be a perfectly natural process that could cause this. Nothing that, no fucking hell, man. We didn't do this much damage. This size of this thing. This is basically like a peninsula of ice, right? That is.
I don't mean you start seeing huge changes. I mean, by the time we become Brazil again, we won't be alive to see it.
No. We won't. No. I don't know if we would be alive to see it. This is what I'm saying. It'll be over a few more years than like the day after tomorrow. But the sudden shift can happen in terms of how vast and how big it is over a very short period of time. Like basically they're looking at this.
I should have said more. I meant to say that like
they're looking at
the stage we're in right now. It won't reach a level where it's become volatile enough that shift will happen. I think it'll take
it'll be a few bad winters. It'll be a few bad winters where it's like fucking hell, 4 feet of snow consistently for 2 years, then 8 feet of snow consistently for 2 years. It'll bounce back to summer and then to winter. It'll just be getting a lot harder. But I don't know if that's guaranteed to happen. But day after tomorrow ain't gonna fucking happen. Don't worry about that. That's bullshit. But there is this big peninsula of ice that's on the Arctic, and every time it swells and it shrinks and it swells and it shrinks, this peninsula becomes more cut off. So when it gets eaten up by the landmass of snow, when it expands and you don't see it, but when it shrinks back every time, it's like there's a little island causing a peninsula of ice that stays below the Arctic ring, like the actual latitude ring. And it stays there, and the rest shrinks back to the north, and this one is left. Well, it's almost left. Like it still has some attachment, but if that breaks off, if that broke off, right, it could possibly be tens, if not hundreds of miles of ice that can be. I'm not infinitely deep, but you know the story of an iceberg. That's how it functions. This thing would go down. What you would see is a fairly low iceberg, but it would look like land. Well, it would look like fucking land that you could build a house, a small road, and put a shop on, because it could float from the Arctic the whole way. This is the thing: when it begins to float and it's pure, unsalted water, because that's what the North and South Pole are. It's pure water. There's no sodium chloride in that.
But once it starts hitting the salt,
yes, the major freshwater dump of that. That's essentially what it is. That is exactly what it is, because what will happen is it'll just dump. It'll be ice, and then it'll be just water, right? In a few brief stages, it will be reduced down to nothing, okay?
I need you to
and
listen
it'll be
to
too
me.
big. It'll be too big to be carried on the Gulf Stream. It will just slowly drift into it. Now that the Gulf Stream is warm, it is also the same Gulf Stream that keeps Ireland warm and tropical. That's why we don't have total landmass freezing. If this thing were to float into that and cut that off essentially, or redirect it to somewhere else, what could potentially happen is a few really bad winters as this thing floats in the trajectory of the Gulf Stream. So it wouldn't do it in like a day. No. Okay, no body on Earth could move that fast over such a stretch. You're talking thousands and thousands of miles.
People forget as well.
And if we don't demolish it before it gets there, we will literally tear it asunder.
If something happens in one part of the world that the Earth has exhaled and there's this big thing, it's because the Earth has inhaled in another part.
Yes.
You know? Which is why the day after tomorrow is too catastrophe, because it's like at no point... Yeah, I like the way they stretched it, that it wasn't just happening in New York City. There's other people on the planet, which was good. But at the same time, you don't really have that level of synchronized destruction all over the planet in one go, in one fucking day. The planet has to breathe and exhale around itself.
I thought what was gas was how they managed to do that zero air pressure shit. Do you know what I mean? Where they literally sucked the fucking... I don't know whether they applied... No, they would have had to suck the pressure out of the air or something for that freeze, that frost Do you know that literally helicopters got hit with? I know that can happen, but you have to fly for hundreds of miles into a storm to get to it eventually. And you will notice shit getting really fucking cold before you ever even get there. You won't be able to hack it. But that was like, BAM!
A lot of stuff in movies.
Shit was like mid-air.
A lot of stuff in movies is they turn around to a scientist and they
get a knob and
they
turn
go,
it the whole way around.
Could this work? Well,
no, but if you spin it up in 10 seconds flat,
technically, I suppose, but it'll be a big lie if you stated in that. Cool, grant, done, fine. Technically, it works. It's grand.
Or the guy who recently conceived the idea, going, "Hey, that doesn't work that way."
Yeah, it's like he gives an that's a beautiful idea.
I gave you a 4-month fucking calendar for that shit, man. That doesn't happen quick. What the fuck?
Did you know Neil deGrasse Tyson? You know Neil deGrasse Tyson, right?
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know Neil deGrasse Tyson, Google his shit.
Legend.
And Google Neil deGrasse Tyson with Joe Rogan. That is a fantastic, hilarious podcast. But nevertheless, he was contacted by the people from James Cameron's film studio, right? Because when they were doing the anniversary of the Titanic, the 100th centennial, they were remastering the whole thing. And apparently he wrote a huge thing complaining to fuck about how Titanic was predicated with the big marketing campaign. He was like, this is what annoyed him the most, the fact that it was marketed hugely on being historically accurate. Yeah. James Cameron's gone down under the deep depths. He's seen the architecture. He knows that it's all of this, right? And he was serious. No, well, himself, James Cameron was serious
about. He didn't rape it. I take that back. He didn't rape it. But fuck me, it was nothing like what he pitched it. This would be an almost like a biography of real people on the Titanic.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Listen. For the most part, you have to give the due credit. The fixtures, the lighting, the dress, the conversation, the segregation, all that kind of stuff. It was extremely accurate. Like the China and the imprints were the exact same imprints. You know what I mean? He did really make a lot of effort because he's a determined dude that when he has an idea, he wants to get it done right. And even though Avatar is essentially Ferngully, which is essentially Pocahontas, which is essentially the Smurfs, and it's a total arsery, the fact unobtainium, fuck off. But it's a beautiful creation of this place and these people and these navigators. It's gorgeous, right? But what pissed him off the most was it was supposed to be historically accurate. And the scene when Rose is on the boat, he looks up at the night sky and he goes, sorry? The problem with the night sky was, one, you have told me the exact day, the exact time, the exact geographical longitude and latitude of where the Titanic sank. So I know, and we can all find out very easily on Google, if we go to the right website, what the night sky looked like at that time. And the guys who was listening to on the podcast, who was listening to him complain about this thing that he said about before, he was like, so what, was it just like the totally wrong day? Or he was like, no. First of all, it was a sky that was the wrong day, the wrong time, the wrong everything. Not even in the right place. And it was half of it. And then mirrored over itself. So the whole sky was a mirrored version of an incorrect lie on something that's supposedly historically accurate when they'd already given us all the information. And it's like,
you can debate the ins and outs of artistic license. You know,
but if you're going to predicate your shit on being historically accurate, and you give someone...
This is the stinging, but this is the thorn in the rose. It is. I know exactly what you're saying. This is when you get caught in it and you're like, I know, I'm not that fucking stupid. Please, don't sell me that I'm that stupid.
Well, evidently...
If you said something, don't believe for a minute that I won't be able to find it out. And maybe at the time he was making it, he's like, sure.
No, evidently, according to the people who responded...
Paxman was probably none the wiser at the time. He didn't have a smartphone.
No, listen. Oh, he didn't have a smartphone?
There wasn't at the time. You didn't epoxy fucking snake bones.
He, evidently, when the people, the James Cameron people, stated. Now, I assume this to be true because even though I don't know the dude, I'm assuming he really fucking cares about his work. As much as he cares about making money, he really fucking cares about his work. And he more than likely, or what he stated was that the person who was in charge of doing that, you know, was not pigeonholed or was not stopped, or I had never received anything that there might have been a problem with the sky at any point. So I literally didn't even think about it, you know? So I didn't know. If I'd have known and someone brought to my attention that it's incorrect and he even mirrored it halfway, so it's a total farce, I would have done something about it. because I want it to be historically accurate. Now, evidently, that's apparently what the people said he stated. So,
I would say
whatever.
though, if it were happening now, man, if it were happening
But
now,
in
and
fairness,
if you were a designer, no, hang on.
The reason, no, I have to finish, because the reason why I probably believe that is what he said was because when he did the centennial, he got people to contact Neil deGrasse Tyson to go, what did the sky look like? How do we make it accurate?
Yeah.
And
to see what it genuinely was.
So on the
So
remastered one, he changed the
sticking to
sky.
your promise of making an accurate representation of the time, the date, and the place that it happened. Of course, man, naturally, fucking hell.
Like, we have a chance to redo this stuff because we're remastering it.
If you were making it now, if a designer was employed to say, right, look, we are making an accurate description of...
He'd know in advance.
Well, he would have to. This is the thing, what I'm getting
Look
to.
at Assassin's Creed.
Look.
Assassin's Creed
Look at
Rome.
what I'm getting to.
Wow, in Brotherhood.
Look at what I'm getting to with that as well. That is a piece that falls into the same category. Making that now, right? A designer has to have in his conscience, not in his conscience because he feels guilty for making it inaccurate, but he has to answer to a new generation that has complete and utter access to this information.
Yeah.
Right? Don't try to fool me anymore because I will find out very fucking quickly whether I would know whether you're shitting me or not. I can find out very fucking quickly, especially from a movie, a game, or the gaming community is particularly piranhous.
So finicky.
They are piranhous with this.
They
Don't
will
try
cut
to sell
you
the
down.
gaming community shit that they won't find out about, because they will always find out. You have to understand what sectors of society exist within the spectrum of the gaming community. It is everyone, it is anyone, and it is nobody. You know what I mean? And that is the bottom fucking line.
What's coming really cool as well about...
it's transgender, it's generation, you know what I mean? It's artistically transcendent now.
It's completely transcendent.
It's exploded in every art field it touches.
And the funny thing is, nowadays, it's got to the stage where the music industry is kind of falling suit, lagging behind. They really should have listened to Napster.
But it was a medium that was tarnished once before, like, you know what I mean? Where now we can't logically do it.
I have to continue with the gaming thing, right, is that it's got to the stage, and for the most part, with the exception of your Call of Duties and shit like that, but even still with Call of Duty, they got raped and screwed to the wall for copying that fucking level from Call of Duty Modern Warfare as it's the exact same campaign scene, just reskinned for the brand new Ghost game.
Essentially a fucking crime, because
they got
selling
hung,
the
drawn,
person
and
the
quartered
same
for that.
product twice.
And you don't...
Twice. It's like me saying...
The fans put up with a lot of bullshit from Call of Duty, man, that other online gamers, like World of Warcraft, or even the lesser extents, like certain fucking Halo people, and like GTA now, and if you're playing a lot of what's that fucking game? Is Dragon's Age or something? It's online?
Dragon's Dogma? No.
I can't remember. But any kind of really seriously cool online game.
Multiplayer online?
Well, not even like a really, really good, like a Gears of War or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
When it comes to matchmaking problems and stupid shit and massive glitches, people don't stand for shit. But with Call of Duty, it tends to
It gets away with it. That is fucking terrible, because you know what that is.
But here's the thing, man. They crossed the fucking line.
Yeah,
and now they're being pigeonholed on this. And the thing about the gaming community is they're very, very subtly...
They're dealing with.
No, they're very, very subtly. They're saying, just so you know, if you fuck us over, we can happily just steal everything you make. And not only that, we can make our own versions of shit now.
Yes.
And there's geniuses and nerds who are finding backing from other fucking gamers who follow them. And they're like, here, if you all... Whoever people, how many people have liked this demo? Like 10,000 people, because you've all spread it around and you're all a part of the community.
Make a game, lads.
If you toss us a $5, we'll be able to make this fully solid game, and you will get full...
In comparison, yes.
We'll be able to make it for everybody, and you will get like all this extra shit, and you'll get your name and everything in the credits as a contributor to the game.
Did with this
So the other gamers are like, and Xbox as well, man.
They believe that their gamers aren't going to see this. But back to this fucking stroke that Ghosts has pulled by taking this animation. I'm sorry, man, but look at it this way. Take, say, your iPhone, or take any... Right, look, anyone designing and building a package for...
Here, take more of this and get more high, because you got to lower the tone. You calm down, you're too aggressive.
But... Alright, say we take a product that is being made for us and we want to buy it. You know what I mean? And it could be fucking anything. This is what I'm saying. And I would, as a game designer, at least at best a game developer, okay, I would say a component as big as an animation that is important to the game to that level, okay? Right, this is... to the iPhone, I would imagine this is the technology behind the touchscreen or the, you know what I mean? Whatever component you want to take out and deliberately just paste into another and sell it to them again. It gets done a lot.
Do you know what it is, man?
But it sickens me.
The problem is...
Hang on. For an industry that should be so artistic to sell you the same thing twice over and say to you, oh, we're going to... You know, it's a great game, but we're secretly making Minkab. We like to publicly announce that we're making $1 billion fucking off it. Ha ha! You fools! What the fuck have we decided? Oh man, that pisses me off. Like, fuck you.
The problem with Call of Duty, it's become so conglomerate in its sense that what you have now is 1,000 monkeys working on 1,000 typewriters. And they are basically not in any way in control as to what they make and what they do. And they're just told, here's your deadline. If it doesn't meet the deadline... No, well, listen. It doesn't matter, man. It's take control over the people who can... It doesn't matter. They can't be taken out now. It's embedded. Okay, so it has to collapse and other people to leave and create their own shit.
And that's what happens.
Change.
That's what happens, right? UDK, Unreal, it happened to, you know what I mean? The lead designer, creative designer of Unreal left and went to set up his own indie company. Yeah. And it's happening. It's quite a few people happening. But I would say with Infinity Ward, that whole public episode of their entire staff leaving. Remember this shit that happened there, what? About 2 years ago, a year ago, after Call of Duty 2, and there was a big foray about Call of Duty 3, who could own it, and all this bullshit.
That's why we had Treyarch and Sledgehammer Studios and shit.
Yes, all pitching in to fucking do their bit, and turning out they're doing fuck all, they're just rehashing the old engine. They're, like, you know what I mean, whether that was their own design, whether they were brought in and said, look, just make this fucking game, and that's it, you get paid a lot of money, don't worry about it, alright? That's all you have to fucking worry about. You know what I mean? I can't imagine a conversation between Kevin Levine and his Bioshock creative team. It goes the same way. They said, right lads, let's dust off the storybook. Let's continue on, a bit of a legend here. And look, there's potholes in that too. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But these guys entered into something that was so beautiful.
You don't care about the potholes because what you're doing is it's the same as looking...
It's an honest piece of work that hasn't just... Oh, I'll take this from there.
More than that, it's if you're listening to a deadly song, and in that song there's like a weird or a missed drum beat or something.
A little bit of steel, something like that.
A little bit of something kind of thing, or an extra on an amp and stuff. It adds flavour, and you're like, oh yeah, I can see if you want to say that they did fuck up there, okay.
Yeah.
But I don't mind because the overall picture, the overall song is fucking awesome.
Yes.
And here's the thing, when the mistakes are affecting the overall product.
Yeah, that's even worse.
It doesn't matter what shit you want to spin on. Doesn't matter how shiny you want to make it. Doesn't matter how much you want to make it explode. Doesn't matter what kind of fucking shit you put in it. If the fundamental thing, picture or song is lost in the cacophony in the background of the mistakes, then it's fucking an irrelevant product.
Yes, of course, you've sold a broken product. But even at that, we've already figured that they've hoodwinked some components.
Man, it was inevitable.
And I bet you more are going to come to light.
They've done it in movies, they did it in music, they're now doing it in games. And it's these people of suits who realise they can make a lot of money very fast. They pigeonhole people and they get into a situation between papers and documents that they're able to make enough decisions and go, you must have A or B done by set date or you're fucking fired. Yeah. Everything else is irrelevant.
And
make it look good.
No money, and then they have to sack an entire studio, and the entire studio is how it fucking work. I don't know if this shift between, because they are losing money. This is the thing, they are losing money. They can pay them whatever fucking way they want.
How many people? When Arkham Asylum came out, right? It was so goddamn good that even though because the company didn't have that much money, the source code itself had a lot of different glitches in it, and the console games there was a lot of problems with it.
Plenty of updates for that,
But not only was there updates, free updates, people went and bought new copies because they were like, this game is that good, or they decided to buy it on Steam later because they're like, this game is that good. And it didn't matter about the other shit because they were like, this is that unfortunate shit that happens. But everything else you can tell they really pay dedication to it and they're really giving me what I want.
Just like Grand Theft Auto 5.
Just
you
like
can see with Grand Theft Auto 5.
Exactly.
They had to iron out those problems, but they worked
all the updates that have been out.
The
$500 sorry. You didn't get the game you bought originally. We advertised it was going to be this amazing world, and it's not that yet. We apologise. Here's another new free content with your $500 called the Beach Bum Pack, which has new quests, new fucking missions, new guns, new new cars, and $500 and all that shit completely for free.
Yes.
Because it's like this is going to add to the experience. It's eventually going to be.
Do you know what they did?
And when it becomes that experience,
when they made that decision,
and when you get bored or are used to the actual experience, then the DLC you will be charged for, because we're adding on extra stuff because you've already experienced.
After we've given you everything we said we were making in a game.
in initially.
And
even though they're known as one of the worst companies to work for because there's letters like The Wives of Rockstar, which is like, I live with my husband and me and my children have not seen him in 3 or 4 months, you know? And shit like that. At the same time, they're one of the weird exceptions to the rule that they churn out absolute fucking gold. And the best thing about it is, even though there's a lot of sweat and blood from the people clear that go into it, you feel it. And you see that and you experience that there was so much time, dedication and love put into this fucking game that the guy's sitting there going, we have no deadline.
And look, if you
I know this is going to kill me and I'm away from my wife, but I might as well put all my fucking effort into making this the best that I can.
And if anyone takes issue with the fact that how hard they have to work to make these games, and I'm sure they're well compensated, I fucking hope that they are for their dedication and work.
But
if
I won't be able to get a job. Really?
No,
you worked in Rockstar.
No, let's not force them to make a decision here over their jobs.
True.
Like, you know, they probably love what they do. Like, you know, they don't want to have to be, you know, kind of cornered into a situation. But if they did decide to complain, then they would take that road. But let's not argue the fact that there are studios across the whole spectrum of art that do this. How do you think Leonardo da Vinci treated his any one of his apprentices? You know, how many hundred?
Well, besides from having to blow his dick.
And among other things, to do strange fucking shit. Imagine the poor sap who had to work with him for the 8 years on the Sistine Chapel. I'm sorry, how many hundred did he go through? Who knows? But
he deserved to have a thin boy happy to suck his dick after that.
That form of creation,
that would kill a fucking person.
Dude, that form of creation would consist. It would be consistent if you wanted to produce amazing pieces of art. And it happens in TV studios, in movie studios,
we don't know
all kinds of studios.
We don't know that when the husband came home, or the wife whose husband was complaining, when they came home and found out they posted a thing up, they were like, what the fuck are you doing that for? You know, how do you look? When I don't work on a game, we have a really long time off.
Wealthy time off. I hope they're paid. I'm going to check that up.
As far as I know, man,
they're well paid.
That's why people still want to work there, because although people have heard it's shit, they're like, I'm single, I don't care, they pay brilliant. And if everything does go to shit, as I said before, they worked for Rockstar. Anyone will hire you. You worked for Rockstar.
I wonder who...
And because they're infamous for being strict to their employees, if you say, what was the reason for quitting Rockstar? They're too fucking mean to their employees. You can go... They'll go, oh, grand. Well, you can fucking, come here, man. Come over here.
Come flip burgers, because that's so much better.
There'll be people lining up to suck your dick to bring you into their fucking gaming industry.
Because it is almost a celebrity status job to say that you are in some form a developer for Rockstar. It's it is in an...
Especially if you're one of those companies that hit a big game and you're doing pretty well, but you're kind of not sure what the next thing is going to be. And you're like, well, the new marketing campaign is this game, brought to you from a creator from Rockstar. You know, and you're just like, ooh, what's this game going to be?
They have launched...
Bringing the Rockstar vision in with this previous game that you loved.
Look at all the studios.
It's
all the studios that have been born out of Rockstar as well. You know what I mean? Decent developers who have come along. But even more so to the point, everyone's been compensated for the creations of Rockstar. This is the bottom fucking line. Everyone has been compensated. And in every... Me and you, as the customer, have got a quality product.
Yeah.
You know, they have made a lot of money. We have made a nice, happy transaction of art for cash.
They also have a famous resume.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a list of good things behind them, man. But the bottom, the base, the very minimalist reason for their existence is to sell us a product. And they do. Now, my grief with Infinity Ward, at least admitting to making this game is... Let me slip this out of that pocket, put it in this pocket, and give it to you. You buy it again, and fuck off. What?
Dude, Infinity Ward is run by suits.
That's it. Yes. As you said earlier,
smash a whip
by
and
suits.
go.
You say, no, crack it out
This time. So I want to make sure that I can keep tapping my 20 grand Rolex watch.
Rolex. Yeah,
when I come in here the next week, I want it to still be this delicious watch that I get to tap to tell you, time. Yeah. Time is important. Time is money. Money so I can buy my watch I can tap.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what I mean? And pay for my...
I can't wear this watch with every suit. I have to have a different watch for each one of my suits, which is worth more than, any of you earned in a month, you know?
They must have... some empty lives. I don't know what of
You
them.
cannot say that you have true fucking happiness when you
You have to fill it with
when
that
you have
shit,
a
of course.
life that you don't spend time with people you genuinely care about.
I wonder, are there even people who have ever had to graft through the games industry, have had to try crack out some work for it, had to do other jobs to pay for it? Do you know what I mean? This is baseline grassroots game developer before he ever gets to Bioshock's doors or Infinity War's door. Bioshock. I mean, Ken Levine's doors, or he gets to any of the doors of any major developers. He was once a humble little code writer.
Well,
all right,
what people don't get, man, is
any of them ever that?
No.
Or any of them ever, at any stage in their life, had they ever been in that position?
No.
Sweating it out, under pressure, have a shitload to do, documents to write up, 2 games to make, sound to this guy, let's do this guy, let's make a website here, and sat there and pondered how the fuck you will do all of this shit in 1 week while you're doing 4 assignments. And any of these guys ever done that? Have they ever done it? And if they haven't, what do they know about
20,000?
And there isn't even 20,000 of these guys in the world, but they run, obviously they run some of the bigger corporations of game development. But the curious question must be then, what relation can they make between them and us? Them and us.
You see,
it's that them and us again.
Well, you see, the weird thing is, you can do what Disney and Marvel did, which was genius. And I don't know why you can still be this cunt capitalist and still get people to churn out really good shit, because what Disney did was...
Because the product of it is amazing.
Hey, listen, what Disney did was they went, right, look, so we bought the rights to a fuckload of Marvel movies, okay? Yeah. But, here's the thing. We don't have the time, and we don't fucking know shit about Marvel movies. So, Marvel, your studio, with a few of our heads, are basically going to do your own shit.
We'll give you the money to make your movies.
You go to you do whatever you want, we'll pay you money.
Yeah, we are your new backer.
Essentially,
we are your backer.
Essentially, yes, they're
in a world that needs backers,
because
we are your
they made the smart enough decision to go, hey, look, these guys make a mint, and even if a movie is shit, it still makes a decent mint. But if the movie's good, turns out it lasts 10 times longer and is 10 times stronger.
And generates shocking amount of following.
Huge following. Cut to, oh my god, Iron Man made so much goddamn money. Cut to the Avengers. And then on Batman and all those things.
It's a happy...
Dude, the reason why...
It's a happy symbiosis.
Dude, the reason
really
why...
fucking is. But look at another one. Look at Rockstar and Take-Two. Look at these two guys. Look at this. Take-Two are a publisher. Now let's look at the common trend of publishers, big money publishers. I'm talking about Activision and EA, right? And their attitude to the people who make their games. And then Rockstar's attitude to Take-Two, who, for the best purpose, right? Let's imagine that Rockstar has grown into this huge, giant, muscly machine that has a publisher and does all it's meant to do, but that's all it can do. At no point can a suit from Take-Two walk into Rockstar and say, no, lads, you're going to have to make it this way. I want it this way. Rockstar, get the fuck out.
Yeah. Who is this asshole?
You only sell our games and you make a lot of money doing it, more than the big publishers.
They probably have a guy called Jeb,
they're good enough.
who's this scary guy who looks in both directions at the same time. He's like 400 pounds.
But look,
and all he says is, yep.
It is Take-Two. I think
he just looks at you and goes,
I think it's Take-Two. I'm double checking. It's Take-Two. But if they are clever in any way, and they probably are clever, that these guys are saying, look, what's that?
Sorry? I'm talking a tangent.
No, but this is what they could do. They're like, no, we won't fuck around with the developer. We won't tell them to do anything. This is a fucking brilliant model we have here, lads. We are selling fundamentally...
A smart guy looked at Marvel and went, wow, a lot of people like this.
Yes!
And it turns out we can make it way more costly for them to pay for it if... It's the same quality as the comic books, but it's in a real-life movie.
And in that way, man, Take-Two is essentially an extension of Rockstar, alright? And it's a happy relationship. And now, Marvel has become an extension of Disney. But it's a good relationship. A one that simply provides the means for the other to produce its shit. That's the bottom line.
And it's why, unless you get fucking people...
for Rockstar to do what they do, they give them a product, they sell it to us, and bam, we got something lovely.
Unless you get celebrity game designers who happen to take a bash with Activision or EA with their own thing, and the EA trust them enough to leave them because they're celebrities, that's the only way that happens. And it's the same with Warner Brothers and DC. Warner Brothers have no fucking respect for the DC movie industry, and they have no rights to their art, to the animated movies, which is why the animated movies are some of the greatest fucking like stories you'll ever fucking like see in a cartoon. They're beautifully animated. They're greatly done. They're the really cool, solid stories taken from comic books, from like legacies of comic books, all put into one thing that are really as justificational as they can be, as justified as they can to the comics. But they're separate. So it's only when people like Christopher Nolan come along that are given enough leeway that they get to do their own shit with it.
And some background in more of the familiar Batmans, like Frank Miller and all this.
Exactly, that they get to do their own shit, and it's pretty fucking cool. Not to say that there aren't a lot of plot holes,
of course. Now that's
movies,
what,
especially in The Dark Knight Rises.
Your hardcore comic readers would take issue with this, man. That is no doubt.
No, but still, it's a great movie. But
they would be the ones who could extrapolate those things and go.
Look, it will forever be amazing because no one has ever been able to portray in a movie an really earnest, serious Batman that appealed as an actual real dude with real fucking problems who could potentially be a bit fucking psychotic. You know, because before Tim Burton picked him as this kind of hilarious character, and you can tell by watching the Batmans, it's not that he was shit at writing, you know, stuff and he was an idiot. He didn't give a fuck about Batman. He cared about the villains and the architecture and the look. He just didn't care about Batman. Okay. So it's not like he read up and he's a fucking moron, or he didn't touch with a 10-foot pole. He just didn't really care. Okay, that makes sense. But you finally see a real earnest Batman, and Christian Bale did a decent job, except for the voice.
Batman out of what his villains were going to be.
Except for the voice. Christian Bale's voice. There was no need for that voice. There's a scene in The Dark Knight Rises, okay, where...
And he's such a legend.
No, listen. There's a scene in The Dark Knight Rises where he's there with Catwoman, and as a joke for every time he talks to Commissioner Gordon says something, turns around, and Batman's gone, right? Ha, classic gag, right? But in this, Batman's talking, and he's talking like this because he's Batman, and he doesn't want people to know that he's Batman.
And when he stops talking, man, you still there.
No, he turns around and he's like, you know, she's gone. So he's like, oh, that's what that feels like. But there's nobody else there. He has no need. He's normal Bruce Wayne when he's talking to himself or when he's with Alfred, right? But in that moment, when he has, because like he speaks as Bruce Wayne when he's talking to Alfred, even if he's in the Batman suit, right? Yeah. But in that moment, he goes to nobody. So that's what that feels like. It's like, why are you talking to yourself like that? You're supposed to do it to hide your voice, not because you're a psycho who embedded themselves so much in a character. They feel compelled to do the voice when they're wearing the suit.
There's a reason for that voice, but don't fucking use it that way, man.
I see that
shit coming. Don't do that. Don't do that. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe he didn't invest it into his character.
Well, the trigger. Yeah. Why do you want to hold another person? You want to give us a salad? Well, the trigger.
That's like, how did he train himself for?
Dude, what's wrong with you?
This is the thing. I mean, in other ways, he just filled the role.
Phenomenally.
Like, you know,
fair play to the guy.
Had to do.
You know the way he got shit for giving shit to a guy who was doing lighting? There was a huge thing.
I've had this argument with myself a lot, man, and I've always thought to myself, am I prone to get that angry? Would I get that angry in that kind of condition?
But can I tell you something? Do you know what made those conditions elevated? That guy has serious claustrophobia. He was drugged to the fucking gills when he was in that suit. Not like in a bad, like, kind of drugs, as in, you're taking but he was given shit, so he was like painkillers and like Zoloft and stuff to like level his mood in a way because he's so bad claustrophobia in that suit.
Yeah.
And being Batman and being in these dark places and filming in these small fucking areas and all this shit, right?
I did.
So when someone's like that and they're in a world where
an environment where it's go, it has to be all go. Don't fuck up because the whole show just stops if you do.
Don't even think for a second that you wouldn't be slightly tempted or might slip up if you're in a world where everyone's like, yes, Mr. McCormack, yes, absolutely.
But he's working. What would you want? His work,
and he's dedicated to his work. So when that happened, it's not like it wasn't a dick move what he did. It was a dick move, and you know he should have had probably apologise to the guy later. But it's not like he was being really nice and he's a totally cool guy and they were out having coffee and it was a real nice family time.
Yeah,
and he flipped and went off the handle. They were in the middle of doing something solid. He was on those fucking things. No one knows how no one said how long they'd be shooting for or anything like that.
How worn out?
You've no idea. And that guy is a guy who overstresses himself and throws him into a role. Yeah. You don't know that.
Yeah,
in Machinist, he passed out twice and got taken away
And
by
he
an
got
ambulance.
so much slack for it. I thought that was bullshit, man. I genuinely did. I mean, like I said,
Well,
operating in those
realistically,
fucking conditions, wouldn't you just? How could you not go off the edge? And
you'd have to go off the edge.
If you
but
had to
realistically,
keep a certain
he's a
flow,
moron. He shouldn't have got that thing from machinist. He shouldn't have. It was too dangerous. It put him in hospital. You don't have to do that.
That was an extreme move. That
Yeah,
was
I know.
serious.
I don't care.
In his,
I don't care. You're an
in
idiot.
his field, that was.
I get it, man. But Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't fucking put himself in hospital. He's a method actor, and he fucking really takes on roles. He doesn't put himself.
Christian Bale is a fitting hero role. You know,
I
that
get
sort
it,
of way,
but you have to understand that.
He couldn't.
Dude,
I don't know if he
there's
could
a
act on
line.
the level of Daniel Day-Lewis. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis can sell you Abraham Lincoln.
Oh yeah.
You know, he can sell it to you.
But
with your
that's
cup of
my
tea and biscuits.
point.
That's the thing.
He overcompensates and he doesn't get justification for it because he doesn't do it to the extent that Daniel Day-Lewis would or Robert De Niro used to. But his performance wouldn't echo.
In other ways, but he would immerse himself in the most inhumane conditioning to do the role. Do you know that? Is that the kind of the extreme of the polar opposite? If you get what I'm saying.
I think it's the extreme because I think it's too far.
Up and he's at his heaviest for Batman at 80 kilos, but man, he dropped down to 55 kilos. I think 55 for the Machinist. That is incredible.
He was like 120 pounds, man. He was fucking nothing.
And he went down to to 120.
110.
I think 110 if at most at his worst.
Look, he's taller than me.
And he kept going.
I'm only 5'8", right? I don't have a massive frame or bone structure to quantify a massive mass or anything like that. I'm still 140 fucking pounds. That guy's taller than me. His frame is able to support a much bigger frame that I could ever build up, which he did with Batman. Yeah. But you can see when he's in Batman, his natural frame and size means his structure can support a much larger physique when toned. If I built up, I'd only become more kind of stumpy and stuff. But I wouldn't
be kind of rugby player.
Yeah,
athletic,
but I wouldn't be like that. And he went from that, which means he can support what, like 205 pounds maybe?
Pounds of weight.
205 maybe pounds, I think it was, or like 190 or something. And down to 120? Yeah, like, that's fucking dangerous,
would
bro.
That not, on a dietary level, would that not seriously erode your liver?
It would derail...
No, pretty much everything.
It would derail everything. It would derail everything. That's why he passes out.
Development and everything like that.
Everything. That takes years off your life. That will take years off. While you're in that condition, you are taking years off your life. It's ridiculous.
You know what it's like, man? It's like watching the most colourful parrot in the room. You know what I mean? The one has really pushed the envelope on how much, that sort of way. If you can go from the Machinist to Batman, and saying, "Whoa, fucking hell! Look at that." As brief as he could possibly be if the health conditions were to deteriorate because of what he does in his most extreme conditions. You know what I mean? It's kind of fucked up to say, well, we wouldn't have the Batman that we have if he didn't do that, because, look, I mean, there's other actors that could possibly do it.
I think he did everything fine. I just think...
To go from the prison scene
to
Batman.
None of that. That was bad.
That's a fucking stack up there. That's incredible.
The only thing is, I just wish someone gave the idea and said, hey, do you know what? Why don't we give him a voice modulator? Because that way it just makes more sense. Because we have the technology and Batman likes his gadgets, so it would make sense. Because here's the thing, we can't get Kevin Conroy. So we'll just do that instead. And I don't know, maybe he insisted, maybe he didn't. But for the most part, at some point, I would even think Christopher Nolan would go,
fuck off.
I don't think that's what Batman sounds like.
Chris Nolan would be as big a rank as League as Christian. I'm sure Christian would respect him as at least.
He'd probably been like, hey, he's doing his own thing, man. He's putting himself into the role. I'm just going to go with it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's if
but I'm just saying, that's my only complaint about the role. Is everything else I think he did brilliantly.
It's an eroding part of the character.
I don't mind in like The Dark Knight where it's like, where were you? Where is he?
It's the same the whole way through.
No, but like,
fucking
there's a difference. There are times when he's kind of talking like, listen, Commissioner, it's going to go down. And it's kind of deep and raspy, but it's not too bad. But it's when it's, I want to know, where is that trigger? Where is that trigger? It's like a fat man screaming at his mistress for more grog, more chicken. More chicken!
He's just having a one or two, one or two to between, I don't know, 1 to 2
kind of
between, you know what I mean, to someone like Catwoman, you can understand him then, but like you said, when he gets in the situation where he has to shout, and there's gunfire, and there's lots of crazy shit going on, and he's trying to talk to people.
You want to listen to Kevin Conroy. He does a brilliant, loud, quiet, angry Batman, Bruce Wayne. He's fantastic. But it's what I was saying back before with the Marvel thing, it's the Marvel move that made DC go, okay, I don't think we have the money. No. I don't think we have the money, and I don't think we have the budget for big movies and a big campaign. What we will do is we'll give a good bit of funds to the right people we're going to trust for the moment, to have sneaky little adverts of particular heroes that the likes of people who know them be like,
oh, I know that shit. Yeah,
Is it even a show of this?
Yeah.
Is that a show of Green Arrow? I wonder what this is like. And then it turns out, because some other dude was like, I think this is a good investment, because it turns out a lot of shows are making more lucrative money over time than movies. And they're lasting longer.
Doing what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing.
Also, it seems that the celebrities from that, people are not really that big. And then they go into the show, and now they're getting seats everywhere. Everybody wants them. You know, and Breaking Bad, Sopranos. Look at this shit. Like, it's Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead. Granted, The Walking Dead's kind of gotten a bit, but still.
It still rakes in the same.
Still rakes in, you know, and shit like that. So they gave this stuff a shot, and now they have Arrow, which I must say, man, I've been sticking to it.
Yeah,
it's
I barely watched.
Really good, and Dave knows a lot more about the DC universe than I do, and he's like very happy with how they're doing it so far. He knows it can't be identical to the comic, and he knows that DC, as everyone knows, has a bit of a mismatch history, that a lot of stuff doesn't really make a lot of different origins.
Games, between games and merchandise.
No, not the games, just between the different comic books, the Silver, the Golden Age. Then they tried to do the New 52, which was revolutionised the main 52 heroes and villains.
But the amount of content, there's like 10 versions of Batman out there right now.
Well, yeah, they wanted to like redo his origin.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. Other people re-rang different origins that were better. So it's really, really hard to pinpoint shit, right? When characters met.
Like what they did with Wolverine. They
made
10 movies about his origins. Fucking raped it. Like Hugh Jackman's a great Wolverine, but anyway, fucking hell.
They're getting back into their motion now. Jim Lee is a savage motherfucker, and he is the main head of DC now. So they have their comics are doing pretty well. Right now, their storylines are getting pretty solid. There's some new stuff out that's pretty good, like Injustice stuff like that, based in the game actually. Justice the game. It's pretty fucking solid. But anyway, what was my point? I was talking about something.
Yeah,
Batman.
Yeah.
So with Arrow as well, is that they've changed in the way, so it's like we're not saying anything is exact from one particular comic, so that we can kind of pull the best that make the most sense over the main conjunctive themes that keep appearing, you know?
Yeah. Ones people are gravitating towards most.
It's really promising. As Dave knows about the history, he's like, he's got not really any complaints, he's quite happy with how they're doing stuff.
Yeah.
And that has rung out because Marvel started doing S.H.I.E.L.D. after Arrow. So like, we're surprised Arrow got funded for another season with a bigger budget. Yeah. You know, the first season's done really well. They might be doing that right. We got to start filming our own. Okay.
Yeah.
So they were doing that, and then from the lucrativeness of how all this stuff is working out, Marvel are now bringing out 4 shows. It's Daredevil.
I heard this.
Jessica Jane. Iron Fist and Nick Cage, Power Man. It's going to be called Nick Cage, right? They're 4 separate shows. They're going to have 13 episodes, and then they're going to have a mini-series where the 3 of them come together to become the...
Do you reckon they could oversaturate? Do you reckon that could happen?
The Something Squad? The Defenders. The Defenders.
Oh, no way.
Defender Initiative, something like that. Yeah, so they're basically doing shows of that. And I have a feeling, from looking at the different concept arts and the looks they're going for, the Daredevil looks to be along the lines of the Frank Miller-esque Daredevil mixed with the same kind of thing, because Kevin Smith did his Guardian Devil with the same kind of serious kind of look that Frank Miller had. It looks like that. And regardless of what people want to bitch about, I enjoyed Daredevil as a movie, and Ben Affleck did not do a bad job. And he will be a fantastic Batman. He is the only guy to ever be cast as Batman who looks like Bruce fucking Wayne. He is not... I know Christian Bale is brilliant. He doesn't have the build. Bruce Wayne is a big fucking dude. He's got the American jaw. He's got that American square head. That Jim Lee fucking kind of drawn. It's classic. This big fucking badass. He's supposed to be akin to like the Superman kind of... He's a fucking big beast. And Ben Affleck has that millionaire, famous boy face. So he's perfect for Bruce Wayne. And he knows the society. He's been in roles where he plays a pompous, rich arsehole. He knows that personality. What Bruce Wayne is supposed to be. It's his mask.
But it is. It's
he doesn't have to fucking speak that much as Batman. Batman doesn't speak that much.
No, I know.
And he's got a really good voice and skill with his voice to put a very dark, gravelly kind of way of talking. And even if it chooses stupid, they could easily decide, because there's loads of stuff of people going out. Now, just put a voice modulator on it. Just put a voice modulator. That way, no one has to stress and no one gets pissed off.
You can fine tune.
Fine tune, exactly.
With buttons on a computer with the voice that you want. That's a beautiful thing about it, giving him a modulator.
And it makes sense because it's Batman. He would be extremely normal to have something like that in his utility. Because why? He's supposed to be mysterious. No one's supposed to really know who the Batman is. You can't really pinpoint it. And you know what would make it awesome? If he had it, that he worked the sound. You know the way that certain speakers use that, although they're really small, they can bounce the sound out and it sounds like it's coming from around the place? If he had it so his voice was like that, and he's in the shadows, and there's a criminal, and he's like, I know what you're doing. I'm gonna fucking find you. And you're just hearing it in the air? That would scare the fuck out of people. And it's kind of all modulated, so it's kind of, we know where you are. Like, you know, bring us the money. You have 5 minutes kind of thing, you know? It would be fucking freaky. And out of nowhere, just from the cape in the back, and then bang, punch to the fucking face.
The speaker on everyone's phone in a shopping store and being able to pull that shit off, like what Dynamo did, get them all to emit the same sound, all the same sound of like an alien sounding you. I don't know, something like from the fourth kind. You know what I mean? What the fuck is happening to my phone? Holy shit! You throw it in the toilet.
I didn't do a good job, but yeah, they're making things of all these different characters, and I hope they're doing what they've done with the movies, which is just let the Marvel guys handle it. They know what they're doing, and the Marvel guys go, thank God, we got to do this right. We have the chance to, you know. So hopefully that'll be good.
Maybe they will. This Batman and Superman movie.
Fox, which is really weird because it's a license that wasn't owned properly by Warner Brothers. So I don't know how they're going to do this. And I have a feeling it might just turn out to be a detective show. I don't understand. Maybe they're going to have some kind of
Batman versus Superman?
No. Maybe they're going to have some kind of a thing like Gotham Central, which is, you know that scene in The Dark Knight where the Joker is in the police precinct?
Yeah.
And he sends the place to shit. Yeah. And then he ends up running the place and then going out, just chilling in a cop crowd, his head out the window. Right, that's taken from Gotham Central, which is Batman's thing. Yeah. From the perspective of the cops.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's him murdering. And in the comic book, he goes around and shoots. He doesn't have this thing with the bomb or like the prayer lights. He literally goes, there's scenes of him just popping and killing, shooting people left, right and centre. Right? And that is like, essentially, I don't know, in that one I think you do see Batman, but it's like from their perspective. They don't have the rights to Batman, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm pretty fucking sure. They don't have the rights to actually show Batman. Right? Or something like that. Yeah. So I have a feeling it might just turn out to be another, you know, NYPD Blue or some kind of shit about it. It's a detective show with other kind of criminals. But I don't know how much rights of which criminals they have. Because it's very racy, it's very sketchy.
It's vague who owns
and as far as I know, the way it works is if you've used a criminal, or if you've used a character in a movie, then whoever was licensed to use that is licensed. For example, Marvel, Disney can't do Spider-Man movies because 21st Century Fox owns Spider-Man. And any villain that's been in the Spider-Man movies so far cannot be used. So Marvel themselves cannot use any villain or make a story that needs a character from that particular slot. So they can't use the Lizard, they can't... So there might be things like, for Nick Cage and Iron Fist, and for Daredevil, there's loads of characters which haven't been mentioned yet in the Spider-Man games, that they all kind of are on the same tier level of superhero and villains. So they can pick from the fucking litter. So...
Kind of sick, and they tried to use, or they did use Venom already. I was like, oh no!
So because of all the Batman movies that have gone so far, even the shit ones, you have the Penguin gone, Two-Face gone. You have
Joker should technically be in a gun because Jack Nicholson.
I'm finished. Oh yeah, I'm still going through. These are the movies that Warner Brothers have done. So for that show, right? Joker gone, Bane gone, Mr. Freeze gone, Poison Ivy gone, Catwoman gone. Harley Quinn is mentioned and seen as a character in Warner Brothers. They could easily pull the strings and go, it's Harley in the credits. We have her written in the credits as Harley Quinn. She's gone. Bane is also in one of the Batmans. I think it's Forever. I'm not sure. Riddler's gone.
That's right. Batman.
Like, there's loads already.
It's not the main. It is the main.
And if Warner Brothers,
Batman's enemies.
If Warner Brothers ownership of characters extends to I have to check the game. I don't know if the game is Warner Brothers. I have to check that. If it is, then they now own Ra's al Ghul. They own Black Mask. They own Ra's al Ghul anyway because they have Arrow, and Ra's al Ghul's been mentioned in Arrow.
Deathstroke.
They have Slade Wilson in Arrow, which is Deathstroke. He's been mentioned. He's gone. They can't use him. They have Black Canary. She's gone. They can't use her. Green Arrow, can't use her. Can't use him. Sorry, Red Arrow, gone. Can't use him.
Fuck.
I think there's someone else. Oh, Huntress. They can't use her.
Oh.
So if it does extend to the game, because the game they now did the Assassins, which could have been a thing from Warner Brothers in a conspiracy theory that they wanted to let's have loads of it, let's mention loads of them. But like you have Bird, Penguin already can't be used because he's already been using the other Batmans. You've got Black Mask can't be used anymore. Killer Croc already is in other Arkham games, can't be used. Like there's just so Hugo Strange.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell.
Any of the Falcones are in Dark Knight. The Falcone, the Mafia family.
Yeah.
Can't be used.
Of course.
Because they were used in the Dark Knight.
Yeah, Dark Knight. Fucking hell. Who else was at that table?
And incidentally, if you want to do the cop show, don't you want one of the biggest villains to be the most corrupt and like Godfather-esque based on Mafia syndicate in the comic book universe, which you can't use now because you're not going to have you fighting fucking superpowered villains all the time. So what the fuck are they going to do with the show? It's got Jim.
Who knows, man?
It's got Jim Gordon because it's not the same Jim Gordon. It's a young Jim Gordon, they've never depicted a young Jim Gordon in anything before. A growing he starts as a beat cop.
The game has done it now.
No, the game hasn't.
No, your game has.
The game doesn't have him as a beat cop. The game already has him as like he's already a detective. He's on his way to being commissioner. So that's done.
Like a really young man
but this is him starting as a beat cop kid, getting into the academy, and like he's left the academy. He's now a cop assigned to a precinct. You know what I mean? And this is his way up, kind of LA Noire style. But I don't see how much they can pull to enrich his story.
To enrich his story
without taking from things that have been already owned, unless they've made a deal with Warner Brothers to sanction the rights of certain characters, which would mean that they'd still have to be a selection of characters that Warner Brothers are going, we don't give a shit about using these in the later movies, even though we might have already used them, and we're not going to use them in the shows. And for the most part, if for whatever reason games are separate,
I don't know what they'll have to strike a deal. They'll have to strike a deal about what DC will be still allowed to do on the show.
There's
and if they don't
fuck
get
all information about
it. You could get fucking shit.
There's just information that it's going ahead. It got the green light. But there's no other information about like what's going to happen.
Even when it starts, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Grand. So we'll close that now. And end that podcast. That got really serious and like really heated.
It certainly did. And
with
what was
some
that?
shit.
At like 3 o'clock?
Yeah. How long have we been buzzing this for? No, that's a 4-hour podcast.
Yeah.
That was a good start. That's full of a lot of shit though. And a lot of truths.
And crack it out, man. You should keep cracking
it
out. If you're going to generate this content, do it.
Yeah, my basis is to get like-minded people who are either interested in something that someone else has to say or just like to just chat.
Yes.
To just talk. And it's so rare that when you see people in your day-to-day lives, it's not in time to reflect. When you see people in your day-to-day lives, if you take a second in your brain when you're talking to people, and for the most part, think if, Jesus, is this basically the same sentence or the same structured sentence that I kind of generically say all the time, every day to these same people? At what point have I actually just sat down and talked bullshit nonsense with someone with no parameters, no forcible nature to do it, no big payoff after this conversation? We're going to be lucratively rich, or we're both going to have purchased this item. No, just for the sake to spend time thinking, not because you're sitting there going, we're going to spend time with each other, but just because as a human being, whether you think you are or not, it is therapeutic, and you're designed to find a good natured vibe in letting your conscience just go and letting your words trail on to these ideas. Let the ideas just bounce out and just bounce off each other and just like go into these concepts and think about shit. Even though
we come across during the week, like during the month, during our lives.
Of course. Even if it's just irrelevant bullshit. The fact is, when you say shit out loud, you get a huge perspective sometimes yourself as to
Yeah.
a decision you've made
You
or
can
a
be
way
in
of
line,
thinking.
Yeah, you
or,
can be in line for kind of criticism of it, like, and people are not understanding exactly what it is you're doing here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is exactly what we're doing here.
but even like, it's
know?
therapeutic for myself and for anyone else on the on the thing,
anyone
because
who can divulge with you.
if you can openly state something and be fine about stating it, and then you're talking about the truths and like you're vibing off what you're initially seeing and reacting to, and there's like a negative thing, then you go, oh, I don't want to be like that. Actually, that's right. I'm gonna. I want a different way of thinking about that, and it exposes you for you, so you know you're a bit more of who you are.
Yes, you've added a little bit more to your artillery of
other people,
information.
if they listen, other people, if they listen, sometimes just by osmosis, you know, because I know this is only from personal experience, that I hear someone else talking about their shit or something that they do, or they've gone, fuck, I shouldn't have done that, or whatever. That I'm like, or even they talk about an idea because they used to think like this and now they don't anymore, or you only know that they used to think like that because of how they're saying this thought they're saying.
Yeah.
That you're like, fuck, I actually relate to that.
Yeah,
I didn't even think that I didn't come in here to relate, and that's not the point. But it's cool that sometimes you hear shit and you're like, because you don't hear it normally, and
you don't hear it enough either.
You don't hear it enough on day-to-day mainstream anything. And the weird thing, what's really strange about podcasts, it's very, very, very unique. And it was like radio in the olden days to a certain extent, but it's lost it now.
But it's self.
And
it's self.
it's
it
like
is the self.
when you have a biography that's like actually written by the dude or the girl themselves,
yes,
right?
These are their words.
This kind of thing. When you say, "Oh, I know them," but I don't really know them, you know? People think they know celebrities. They don't know dick about celebrities, okay?
Of course they
but
don't.
when you listen to a person naturally talk, completely free of any guidelines of you can't say that, and just allowed to let their thoughts grow, that over the conversation they might even realise, shit, that didn't make sense back there, hold on, what I just said. You know, when you allow yourself to, or just fully think and go, wouldn't it be great if, you know, but when you do that kind of shit, it's like it's so like attachable. And it's a good thing, and we enjoy it. And we learn a lot,
man, in any form
just by osmosis, you know, because, and you can actually say that, you know, you never met the person, but you can say genuinely that you do know that person and that community of people who listen, because you know the people who listen to this are going to be listening probably for the same reasons you are.
Almost a form of altruism, you know what I mean? It is, of wanting to share one's common interests. That's what it is.
The beautiful thing is, it's not based on any form of gain or loss or idea that people.
We wouldn't want people going out.
Yeah, or everything's cool, but as long as you think this is okay. No, it's just getting you get to know someone because they're speaking literally on the fly. Their thoughts are just firing, and everyone's thoughts are firing. So you really get to actually know that person, and you feel when you listen to it. Well, if other people are listening to it, and you hear the feedback when you see the feedback, and it's like-minded feedback. You know you're a part of actually knowing and talking to someone, not necessarily talking to someone, but you got other people and you're like, this is cool to hear people talk normally, because there are mates, man, there are people that like I won't talk to about this shit, not because I don't like them or I don't trust them, it's because of who they are. That stuff wouldn't be appealing to them. Yeah. And that's fair enough. And sometimes, a lot of the times, it's one person or two people who won't admit to them, or for whatever reason, in a group of different people who do want to have these conversations and would probably, without realising, get a real, man, that was a real good fucking conversation, without realising that they don't have people in their particular life that is getting what they want to attain.
They don't have those people there.
Well, they don't have the time. You know? Things like that are like what radio used to be, and what old school like show kind of things used to be, of like this is the the original late show, when you knew the actual dude who was hosting the late show because he lived in your fucking town, you know, and that's why it was different, and that's why the impact was different, not because the method was correct, but because the medium in which the method was transmitted was connected, because the people transmitting the medium were already a part of the stream in the first place. Whereas now you have a person nobody knows,
so far away from
interviewing a person
from the end result.
Nobody knows, to a bunch of people who are like, isn't he great? Look at the clothes they're wearing. Oh, they answered that question with a little comical remark. Oh, look at them dance. Look at how they move their body. And it's just like, what the fuck? But so that's why I really enjoyed podcasts, and I've found out by just not causality that I was like, fuck, this is something I really like to do. I really like to listen to him because it's like when you don't have time and not in a situation like oh, real conversation, real thought. Your mind
Wish
just
I had
actually
someone
goes.
to talk to about it. I
And
know,
it's-
I do.
And it's not like when you listen to music,
It really does.
you know, you get yourself into a mind to listen to music, you know. This is just something that as I'm fucking making stuff in the kitchen, you listen to music and it's your buzz, whatever, but when you listen to that, it's like, it's more freeing. As in you don't feel as much of a, oh man, you know, take the earphones out, I'm a part of the real world now, blah, blah. You know, when the music is, when it's just not fundamental, this kind of beat you're constantly taking to as you're doing things by osmosis. You know, it's like you're listening to a conversation and like nodding along and you're laughing, you know, as you hear funny things, and when they say something that's right, you're like, in your head, you're like, fuck yeah, you know, as you're doing other shit. So it's a totally different experience. And you really feel a part of it. And
like I said, man, it's a form of
I don't know of one that is in Ireland, and
we haven't heard of them.
We haven't heard of them, even if they have existed.
There's no exposure.
There is, like, there obviously is, but
not enough to make them in any way. Oh, did you hear about? Like, I couldn't tell you about a channel I've heard about that's down in Wexford or in Galway or in Dublin. I have no idea. I know they're out there. Of course, they're fucking out there. But there's no communication between them. If it is, it's minimal.
And the thing is, if you have a podcast, you can
join
interview.
This community, then
if you have a podcast and you get in and you meet other people and stuff, you can interview other podcast people because you like their shit that they do.
Exactly.
And then
form a community
that grows as well, you know. And you're basically just spreading this really nice vibe of people just being decent and talking good, just talking shite, and like asking questions as well, and like exploring ideas and thought processes that, unless spoken and understood or listened to in a different way, it wouldn't make a person go, huh, actually, that's a good point. You know what I mean?
So,
or it wouldn't define your thinking by going, you know what, I really don't agree with that, and now I know why I don't agree with that.
Yes.
And now this is solidified. You know what I mean?
We should be grateful in a way that, like, you know, we are getting all this great content from the States, from the UK, and all this, and there is a little trickle of it in Ireland, not a whole lot, but like our channels, our YouTube channels, our likes, our page
Love
likes
Hate,
on Facebook.
Anchorman. Posted a speech. Ron Burgundy posted a speech about how much he loves Love Hate and America loves Love Hate. The Irish version of Love Hate, which is nuts, because you wouldn't think that they would get half the shit they're saying, because they do talk ridiculous in different accents and all this shit. And like the words they use are total vernacular and slang, like to the man. You know, like, I fuck off, Nietzsche, el bollocks it. Like, that means nothing to somebody, and it wouldn't, and it shouldn't. You know what I mean? But they love it.
They're getting it now.
They're getting it. Absolutely on the wagon.
Colin Farrell, I suppose. I've seen him do gangster. I've seen him do scruffy.
Look,
gangster.
that guy
can do fucking scruffy gangster.
For a while, for whatever reason, decided not to act, and it was abysmal. And it was abysmal because
and then he just made some money. Now he's making real movies again.
No, it was shit because he could do so well.
Yes, I know.
When he was pretty much not that known at all, hung an entire movie on himself in one four-walled cubicle phone booth. 80% of that movie is that dude in a fucking phone booth. And it is fantastic.
Yeah.
So he is good. And no, there is good shit coming out for him. But yeah, no, I just I want to. I found out.
Bruges.
Oh, in Bruges. That was very good.
Yeah,
there was one where it's it's got Edward Norton in it as well, and it's
what?
Yeah, it's fuck. There's a movie with Colin Farrell and Edward Norton, and it's like New York something or.
It's not. No.
Fuck.
Fuck me! How you made me forget it? No.
He plays a crooked cop, right? And there's a scene in it where he's basically has an iron over an infant baby, and he's like threatening. Colin Farrell's threatening he's going to iron the baby unless she fucking tells the guy where his husband is.
Oh, that's thrown me completely off now. I can't imagine Colin Farrell holding an iron over a baby's head. Fucking hell!
I need a phone.
I've seen it. I know I have. Well, I don't know about that, but I can't remember.
Okay, when I put this up, I'm going to put the name.
It's not SWAT.
No, it's not SWAT.
Oh,
and when I put it, and it's not We Own the Night either. And it's not Street Kings.
Fuck. Oh man, you got me on that one.
Yeah, well, I'll just post the name of the movie if I find it. I'll find it and I'll post the name of it.
Do it at the bottom of the podcast.
But,
check it out, folks.
Yeah, no, it was a weird thing that I realised, as I was saying to you in the car, that when I listened to a podcast after a while, I was like, essentially, hold on a second. I've spent a lot of hours of my life talking to people about nonsense, but still having really cool, interesting, fun, funny conversations. Hold on. There's a way that you can do that and everyone can benefit from the vibe and you can all have great crack. and you can possibly get your name out there in order to help you launch the other things that you actually want to do for your career. I had no idea that existed, and I was like, I get to basically get all the sides of the coin, get all the birds, and no stones have to be thrown on anything, and no one gets fucked in any way at all. Everyone benefits in a lovely, happy environment. And, I was like,
and if they want to listen,
they can listen away, and if they don't, and they're like, this guy is talking absolute shit. What a arsehole. Who are these people he has on the show? These fucking nobodies, like. But, you know, go ahead.
Yeah,
you know,
we're allowed to. Fuck you.
You're allowed to. Not only do I admire.
We can do it if we want.
Not only do I admire, I will fucking argue for their freedom to do that. You should be allowed to do whatever the fuck you want, because people will always want to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And if they don't, they get pissed off and angry or depressed and they kill themselves. So it's just best to let people do whatever the fuck and let the dices fall as they may. And if some person really is like, fuck it, I want to kill you, and the person kills them, be prepared that that person is going to get fucking killed as well.
The philosophy of and
the thing is, what makes someone not kill someone,
you can insult me with
is
what
better
you're saying,
than
but
saying,
I will die for your right to insult me.
Yeah, I'll die for right to insult me. Absolutely. And what's the name of the guy again who said that?
Oh, fucking hell. Mark Twain? I don't
No,
know.
Mark Twain.
Check it out. No.
But yeah, it's like...
But that, it's because I've seen it 100 times over. And 50 different memes. Or memes, whatever.
I don't know, maybe there should be a kind of thing of unnecessary sociopathic, you know, murder is probably still a bad thing. But for the most part, without going crazy...
He wasn't, man.
Whatever it is you want to do, and people are going to want to do whatever they... Look, if you like eating your own shit and getting another person to eat their shit in front of each other while you masturbate to the sound of two donkeys getting arsed in the background.
So long as you both consent.
If you consent and you happen to have come upon those donkeys who are doing it regardless of you being there or not,
walk away.
No, then you know, you can do it. Go ahead. If you're both consenting, you both agree.
If you disagree though, walk away.
If you
disagree, just fuck off.
Yeah, if you don't like it, don't go to where those people are, you know, eating their own shit.
Don't like bad video games. Don't ban for your kids.
Don't like it. Don't do it. It's like, I don't like gay people. Then don't have sex with men.
It all returns to the argument of what you do it to yourself. That's the joke. That's the joke on them. It's fucking horrible.
You do it to yourself. It's brilliant. It's like
and then they give out about it. Then they give out about it. And they ban it.
Man, people will be so much happier if they were allowed to just do what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because people will find... The only reason why people go to extremes is because they're pushed to extremes.
Yeah.
And they're only given a certain finite, told they can only have a certain finite when they're already fucked to go to an extreme.
Before then.
If you touch a fucking stove and it burns your hand, you go, whoa.
Ow, that hurts.
I'm not doing that again.
Yes. And you see it hurts other people, so it hurts other people.
But when you're doing something and you're like, it's hurting other people and it's hurting yourself, you're like, listen, this is all the only fucking thing I have. I work a shit job. Or I work a job. I don't really hate it, but it's fucking ridiculous work. It's stressful as fuck.
Yeah.
We never really get to spend the proper time with the people I care about properly. I earn enough money, but I still, for some reason, have to worry about bills.
Yes.
And all this shit. This is the one thing I can do. I'm sorry if I get a bit rowdy, but just bear in mind that I'm going to be a bit rowdy on the weekend when I get shit-faced, because it's all I have. But if the situation was changed and you had a cornucopia of shit you could sample, people would find their own niche. Yes. And people will go, oh, this is good. And the ones who do it to excess to kill themselves, I'm telling you, man, they are the people who, by disposition, will regardless have done something to themselves to end them in a situation where they're that bad.
Yes, exactly.
That if left to their own devices, would kill themselves.
They would find a way. They would find a way. This is because we're not treating them the right way. We're not treating them the right way as
you can slice it whatever way you want it.
With an illness. Addicts with an illness who, look, for the best part, we keep treating them like criminals. You know what I mean? We could all technically be treated like criminals. You know what I mean? And to a certain degree.
When you go to work,
this is the fucking
when you're an addict about making money, you're fucking addicted to making money. You're addicted to seeing the numbers in your bankroll go. You're addicted to buying shit you don't need. You know, you're addicted.
Dan, I asked my wife.
Coffee.
I asked my wife an interesting question
the
the other night.
Silent ball and chain of the economic workforce.
Let's see if you can answer this question right, okay? Or at least, what is your take on this, okay? I was saying to my wife, because we were having a talk about this dinner that was being served to kids. And it was basically a lasagna dinner with cheese, potato, and something, red meat. Right? And I said to her, look, okay, if you were to smoke half a gram of weed every day for the rest of your life, okay, genuinely, and you were to eat this dish for dinner every single day for the rest of your life, which do you think will cause disease first? Take your pick. Choose wisely.
Well, that's a very good point.
Which do you think you develop a life-threatening illness from first?
Not just not just illness, but the lack of other things in your diet because you're only eating this.
Let's just apply these two rules to two ordinary people who, for the most part, do all the.
The answer is lasagna.
No matter how healthy.
If you eat just frozen lasagna out of the fridge and that's all you have every day.
If you put cheese, right, potato, and red meat, so that's cancer. That's high starch, which is, you know, take your pick of diseases it causes in later life, and high cholesterol. This is genuinely in a bad food group. It's been moved by the WHO. They've moved it to poor food. It's a poor diet.
Isn't it hilarious how the fucking pyramid totally changed the food pyramid?
Yes,
because it was like, wow, that's going to kill people.
Yeah, suddenly
that's
cheese
really
is
bad for people.
But at the same time, look, okay, jam is bad enough if you eat enough fucking of
fuck
it.
off.
So,
jam is delicious.
Do I
fruit.
say it to the fact?
Sugar
do I say
fruit.
it to the fact that cheese is bad? I don't care. I fucking love it. Like, you know what I mean? It's really nice.
Cheese isn't bad. Cheese is really good for you.
It's
a
bad
shit
as in
diet.
eating
No,
butter.
No,
eating
not.
butter or salt, right?
It's
That's
not.
what they've done with it, though.
It's
That's
not.
what they've done with it.
It's not that bad. Here's the thing. When you eat a lot of fucking cheese when already on a shit diet, then you get the really bad adverse effects from cheese. If you eat a good bit of cheese, but you eat other shit as well and the good bits of the right stuff, and you don't have to go on a treadmill. You don't have to. Just don't be a lazy cunt.
Look,
don't be a waste of space. It's not going to kill you. None of that food's going to cause you a problem.
Like you say, you're not going to just eat spoonfuls of butter.
Yeah, you're not going to eat spoonfuls of jam, you know.
And therefore, you'll eat.
But jam on toasted butter is a good snack.
If you're reasonable about it, you can have it. You know, this is the thing. Like, it's. You know, people going, oh, look, it's not, I fucking eat cheese, don't get me wrong, but what I mean is, though, is that, like, when it was moved, and when you put it on this dish, like, this fucking dish, and so be it, if you had it once a week, who gives a fuck?
Dude, I'm sorry, I have to stop you right there. You must understand the difference in the chemical content and the actual content of the cheese that you will get on those lasagnas and actual proper
cheddar
good cheese
block from
you would buy from like your cheesemonger or some shit like that. Totally fucking different. There's essentially not that much fat in cheese, man. It's fucking mold.
Yeah.
Right? There's not that much fat. It's when you have this compressed and you have this fake, you know, multi mass produced cheeses for these multi frozen meals that have to be able to be frozen, cooked, whatever, and all that shit. You're talking a different fucking scale of crap that goes on in there.
A lot of them are made with proper milk, proper dairy products, right? And that's what you can call on to say, right, look, because it genuinely does on its best form, okay?
On its best form,
but the shit you'll get in frozen pizzas, like from Tesco, fuck knows where that fucking cheese comes from. That's why, of course, that's why it gets dropped, or it gets downgraded, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, you know, people ain't going to stop fucking eating it. This is the bottom line. Yeah. Just like all the other nice stuff that, you know, made poorly is rubbish.
McDonald's, perfect example.
You can eat proper chips. You can have your home cooked, steamed, teeny little drop of oil in one of those machines to cook your chips. That's like, you know, your cheese version would be the healthy version of that. Yeah. Okay, and then you get the McDonald's version, which is the very bottom of the ladder here. If there's a ladder, if there is a grading system for these guys, there's the frozen and the McDonald's at the bottom.
There is no potato McDonald's chips.
There used to be. No, there used to be.
Oh, they brought it in. They have to.
Because they couldn't lie to people.
But by the way, dude, when they say it is in it now, it's still like 80% soya paste, 20% potato, and it's like 20% shit part of potato.
Yeah.
And it's crap, and it's literally a paste. It's
not proper.
It's disgusting.
But say if you take,
it's worse for you than
say if you take what wheat has done to so many celiacs in so many generations.
Oh man.
Okay.
And
it's not particularly.
I told you about dwarf wheat.
Yes.
It's not that we don't use the same wheat we used to. Original wheat that was actually good for you had a lot of nutrition and stuff, antioxidants and like
and
minerals
it was prone to disease. All sorts. It was modified to become what it is today. Sure.
And that was healthy for you. When you got that delicious bread. When you know in the old days,
celiacs
in the old days.
Celiacs are born of a generation that did live on that wheat that was highly. It wasn't a perfect product. Like, it was kind of, I did not like tobacco. it was like not like sugar either, because sugar hasn't changed a bit. But when it was unmodified, like the celiacs, the 60 and 50-year-old celiacs you're seeing today are born of a generation before that who were living on this wheat, if you get what I mean. Like, and the genetically modified stuff is kind of it is not the savior of wheat. It's just we can make it without all the diseases that it had before.
It was to increase yield.
Yes, increase yield. Yes, because they've seen it as like, look, this can feed.
But what made the huge difference is the intolerance to the wheat originally wasn't that bad originally, right?
No, because there wasn't that much of it. Like the wheat was, like you said, it was a small crop that could only be grown in small. But then we figured out a way to grow it en masse.
But the concentration of it,
and then the people who were intolerant.
This is what made it worse. When we no, that's not even it, man. First of all, it was very nutritious, and it was actually what it's supposed to be.
Because it is.
But here's the thing: it's not anymore. And the reason why we're seeing so much, even younger people who are like, not saying they're celiac, but actually have a gluten intolerance.
Yeah.
And other people who have been eating for years and gone, you know what? I stopped it just for the sake of it, and I feel so much better. Like, all that shit. When that was changed over, the final product changed the natural gluten structure of the wheat into a product called glutenine.
Yeah.
And that glutenine is way more effective to people who are prone to that genetic disposition, to that chemical.
That's it,
or that compound. So as a result,
the version we have at the moment is
so much more pure. And in the old days,
it's a catalyst for people who are going to be prone to
do you know why the hillbilly is pictured with a wheat stick in his mouth, chewing on the wheatgrass? Because it turns to gum. It turns to a gum. That's what wheat does. It's a glue. The glue in tea bags, one of the tea bags that celiacs can't have, because my dad was celiac, he couldn't have berries, he had to have lions, because it's glued together with gluten. It's used as a glue.
I see.
And
I didn't know TheMexi used that.
When it became the wheat that it is now, where the gluten agent in it is so much stronger.
Yes.
That's when you have that huge crash. When you have like a big pasta meal or loads of fucking potatoes, you feel because you haven't had you've had an okay bit of veg, but you probably had a good bit of meat, and protein is a slow digesting compound, and then you have this heavy gluten that just ends up turning into glue that sits in your stomach. And because you're lucky enough not to have a predisposed position, eventually it'll go out of your system. But for the most part, why is it?
Diet,
no matter how much you eat or chew the popcorn or corn on the cob, there's still corn in your shit, because your body doesn't digest corn. It doesn't. And wheat as well, with that glue, is the same kind of idea. Your body doesn't digest it.
Yes, and dairy products to a certain degree have that.
To a certain extent as well.
To a certain extent.
But dairy product, no. But the thing is, people.
I'd say for people,
if you're not lactose intolerant, dairy products. This is one thing that pisses me off. Okay. Everything breaks down. It eventually gets broken down into minerals and chemicals that your body can process. Whereas this glutenine's form, like base agent, is this glutenine kind of thing that your stomach can't filter anymore to break it down further. So it ends up just have to slowly eventually go through your stomach and then go through your shit. And that's why when you finish a big heavy meal, you're like, like a big pasta meal,
it's just not moving anywhere. Yes, exactly.
Fuck, and it's not the meat sweats. It's different from the meat turkey sweats or a big steak. It's a different feeling.
But say, go back to our question of
the reflection of that in someone who's gluten intolerant is they feel sick and they feel nauseous and their mouth burns. And that's the difference. And they get like real acid, what's it called, irritable bowel syndrome, shit like that. Like, because it hasn't even made it to that place. Already the body's gone.
Effectively a foreign object in the body. And it's crashing.
So you don't get the same shit even from that. Like,
get back to the like I said, the question. We've just vilified what would happen to someone. Literally vilified what would happen to two regular guys if you a bit of sporty, bit of game, bit of college.
But potatoes are different. Potatoes are a different form of carbohydrates. You metabolize potatoes into sugar.
These three things together, okay, in three big thick layers, okay.
And it's not the nicest meat. It's not the most robust, protein enriched high meat.
They're a duck. You know what I mean? That's technically a red meat to a certain degree.
When they say minced beef frozen, it's like hooves and snout.
They're not allowed to call it minced beef anymore, but they're allowed to call it minced meat because it's
not necessarily beef.
It's not necessarily beef anymore, is it? It could be a bit of horse. Could
we had a goat, that stands around to keep the cows calm before we killed them. That goat slipped, and that got caught in the chipper. So the goat's in the meat now. So we can't really call it beef. We just call it minced meat. Yeah, mincemeat, that'll do.
Say nothing, lads.
That's why I never liked what's that one is it pot roast or meatloaf? I never liked meatloaf because it's just like this is the definition of a poor man's dinner. This is a poor family has so little.
Jammed together.
Even though you might want to bring the artistry of putting a bit of a nicer meat into it, you're still getting an ingredient that was spawned from bits of rat and pigeon mixed into this meatloafy thing with the leftover of a chicken they found in the rich person's trash.
His original conception was like
and it's like, look, it's the same as carving a fresh loin, cut loin of steak. And you're like,
I could never
not only does it taste like arsery, it looks like arsery and shenanigans. I want none of this in my diet. Get away from my house. We have evolved from the need to eat such crap. And get this away from me.
But yet, oh god, it tastes so good.
Give me a moo cow, cut it up, and put it on a fucking plate so I can fuck it in a fire, take it out, and chew on it with my teeth that are given to rip meat apart.
Is that too much to ask?
Is that too much to ask? Because I tell you what, you have to go through a lot of bullshit of finding the right vitamins, the right supplements, the right fucking vegetables, and the right shit to be a vegan, okay? But you know what? You know what's just as healthy? Eating a big fucking high game or high protein enriched steak mixed with veg and like a vitamin drink, like vitamin C in your day and a yogurt.
Oh man, you'd be a machine.
And not even the yogurt is extra. You don't fucking need that. And the vitamin C, you don't have to have it at the same time as your steak. If you have the carbs and the potatoes for the sugar, just for the extra weight, extra sugar, extra stuff, right? But you have that protein and then the enzymes in like steamed broccoli, which although sounds like shit, it's not when you lather that motherfucker in butter. Grass-fed fucking butter that's gone through the double undular stomach, like that cows have, they have two stomachs, and it's gone through that system, and it's just this beautiful Kerrygold butter. So much so that it's in America, and it's so goddamn expensive.
I know.
It's like for the tiniest sliver that's smaller than our small, it's like $10. It's hilarious. I bought that shit. The rest was pants. So I bought that shit. But when you have that, and then you just have that with a bit of salt and black pepper, your body can get so much of some bit of steak, bit of animal meat, bit of greenery. You're both designed to naturally digest. Because guess what? You're a fucking omnivore. You're like a bear. You can eat whatever the fuck isn't gonna kill you. And pretty much nothing that's alive that hasn't developed a poison can kill you. You're supposed to eat it. It's pretty much fine.
We can consume McDonald's. That's proof that we can eat just about anything.
It's essentially cardboard and drywall. And we can run. People have invented things.
If you can digest a KFC, you're already off to a good
Many people
start.
have invented shit on cold fucking pizza, McDonald's, and shitty Chinese. You know what I mean?
If you were to give to any other animal, they'd probably
Red
seize
Bull,
over and die.
A bit of fucking cocaine.
But not a rat. Not a rat. Funny enough, not a rat wouldn't keel over after eating all this shit. Or us.
Yeah, it's like, turns out we fed a rat McDonald's for a week and it died. Yeah, humans can have them for a really long time and they're actually grand. That's really weird. It's because we're designed to eat anything. And guess what? You know those animals? If they don't get eaten, things get fucked up. They didn't have the wolves to eat the deer because they killed the wolves. They took out the wolves in Yellowstone because they were like, wolves are eating all the deer. It's too much, right? So they did that. The deer ate way too much of the greenery. The greenery was gone. The beavers couldn't make their dams. The fucking pond shit couldn't settle. The people couldn't get their other animals couldn't get their food. And as a result, no fucking of all the wildlife that migrates to Yellowstone for the lake and the rich other stuff that's alive because these lakes have formed were there. The whole ecosystem died because there weren't meat eaters eating those fucking herbivores.
And just thinking about another invention of necessity was formed out of that. Trained dogs.
Yeah.
It was. Look it up next time we talk, Dan. Next time we talk.
And there's a difference as well. Like certain animals, you don't have to eat everything. I'm not going to eat a dog, but you know, I'll eat a cow.
If he's a tool that can gather my sheep.
Let me tell you something. If a cow can go fetch, can make you feel better, and like jump and catch and do all that stuff and roll and everything.
He's bumped up the line.
It's bumped up the line. But until it can, fuck off and eat grass. Give me the milk and let me eat your fucking ass. All right.
If you were in my position, you'd be doing it too.
Exactly!
This is evolution, baby.
We evolved to be able to do this.
It's cruel because we can laugh at it now.
We can laugh at
the same time, because they were doing it to us.
I know, there is a huge difference in the mass production over mass killing of these creatures and cultivated just for mass murder. And it's like, oh, not a lot of people ate the 20,000 cows we butchered. Well, throw them in the bin. No, you know, there is a huge difference. There's a huge difference.
Man, the next step will be just those replicators from our Star Trek. And just form it at an atomic level.
Read my brain. Give me the state that I'm thinking of.
What does my brain most desire?
Thank you.
That would be epic.
Wouldn't you imagine if secret gays were like, what's my brain most desire? And like this dude with like this massive cock just comes out and you're like, what? No!
Fuck!
And
Holy
that's the time you
shit,
turn on the news and go, and last night Tom Cruise killed himself.
He got burned, something fierce. Whatever happened to him? Some muscly guy with his cock out left his house at 12 o'clock. Scratching his head, wondering how the fuck did that get
But
here?
Tom Cruise is a fantastic actor.
Oh, yeah,
And I say that...
because he could bust through that fucking window and kick our asses right now.
Not that. Born on the 4th of July.
Yes.
That's all you have to do. Totally changed my tone. All you do is see that and you're like, this dude can act. Born on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Seriously, that motherfucker can act. His ass off. Anyway, I'm out. Say goodbye, Micko.
Bye.
Goodbye. Peace.
That's it, yeah?
Yeah, that's...
My phone